live. Tom Lavecchia here with the latest edition of the Armchair MBA, episode number 17. And this is going to be a very special episode for many reasons. First reason is introduction to the audio guys and gals on iTunes. This is the first stream that's going to be put on the audio channel. It's doing very well. If I can just show everybody, and I want to thank all those that are listening on audio, that the Armchair MBA currently ranks number 120 on all of iTunes in the whole US for business management. So without you guys, I would not able to make it happen. Hold on, let me share the screen real quick so people can see.
Now that's 120 out of a possible what? 110? Oh, okay.
Exactly. So they rank the top 300 on Chartable or iTunes, which is it was iTunes. Now it's Apple Podcasts, and it currently ranks, and this is the live charts, 120 on the Apple Podcasts, United States, and management. So the cool thing is, it's very difficult to rank for business-related topics, especially management. So this podcast has been in the top 200 in the U.S. since it reformatted to the Armchair MBA. So I want to do a special thanks to those on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Next, I'm extremely excited to announce. Ready? Something just fell.
Ding, ding.
The road to 10,000 subs. Okay.
Yes.
Right now, we're roughly around 8,100, approaching 8,200. So we are rolling out the road to 10,000 subs. Fourth place is going to be 10 copies of my book, X Factor Selling System, which is a 2-time best-selling book on Amazon. Third place is going to be 10 Armchair MBA shirts. We may throw some 4 Horsemen in there as a kicker. Second place, sponsored by my company, X Factor Media, $250 gift card, and the grand prize, $500 Amazon gift card and guest appearance on the show that you wish. Sponsored by JSV Capital. All I'm going to ask you to do is to like, share, and subscribe. 87% of the people, who's vibrated? It's Joe.
The businessman. It has to be the Mohawk.
Who's vibrating?
Mohawk.
We're kind of live.
Well, I think he froze. There he is.
You good, Jason?
I'm here. I can't stop the world from calling me. I'm sorry.
Right, but you're kind of alive. But anyway, so the road to 10,000. 40% of people that watch the show are not subbed. It's not the old show. We don't have feds. We don't have defense attorneys. We don't have wise guys. We don't have current wise guys. All those guys left me. What's left is people that are watching, and it's coming up in what's called your browse, recommended, or suggested feed. For those folks that are watching this, I'm going to ask you to look down. If you are subscribed, subscribe. Turn on all notifications. And here's what I ask. Per piacere, can you please share this with 1, 2, or 3 of your friends that you believe are interested in this show and the content that we produce? We want to get to 10,000 as the 4 Horsemen for the Armchair MBA together. And those are the prizes once we hit 10,000. There might be some other special prizes. You might be able to get a one-on-one sit down with the Mohawk. There's rumor that that's in play. And that's kind of like the administrative matters for today. This is a copy of the book. It's an Amazon bestseller 2 times over. And the truth of the matter is, I can show you how to influence anybody, anytime through what is called the 4P process. Jason, who's a pain in the ass, and Mohawk actually read the book. Jason, if you could give a 2-second plug.
I read the book twice, actually. And I've read several sales books in my time. And for me, this is the best sales book. And I'm not just saying this because, Tom, you're my friend, but it is the best sales book. It teaches you from start to finish. Tom rolls in his experience out in the field and actually how to go through the whole process. So even if you're not in sales, people out there. It's just actually, this could actually just work in everyday life. What Tom teaches in this book. But either way, it's a great book, great read. And like I said, I read it twice, so I highly recommend it. And anybody who gets this in this contest is a lucky subscriber.
Well, here's the thing. I got to be honest. Serafino, one of his parents is from the same town in Italy as mine, so he automatically won a prize and maybe the ground. So the cool.
This is not rigged. It's not going to be rigged, is it?
More than likely, yeah. Okay.
Jason, I'm curious. What did the Mohawk think of the book?
Yeah,
loved it. Read it 3 times.
Love it. All right. So with that being said, it is time to get it back on track, Cosimo. So today's episode, and we got some great people that are there. So we're going to ask you guys to stick around because we're going to drop some links and we're going to have you jump on if you're interested. Today, we're going to talk about the fringes of Cosa Nostra, the Cosa Nostra. We're going to talk the fringes of the Mafia. Here's what I mean. We got 4 Italian-American guys here, 2 that grew up in New Jersey, 2 that grew up in New York. And the truth of the matter is there are not a lot of made guys, right? So if you look at the mobosphere, right, there's about 5 made guys. You look at associates, there's probably about 30 guys that are out there in terms of like the mobosphere, right? You look at the content creators, there's probably 100. And if you go on iTunes, it's probably 500, right? That's also how the mob is. A lot of guys, weren't made. And however, they had a profound effect on other people's lives, particularly what I want to talk about in the Italian-American community. So, Joe, why don't you start it off? Give us kind of where you grew up. We're not dropping names unless they're past or doing a 100-year bid. Even then, we may not. But it's more about your experience growing up. There's a lot of people, folks. I don't want to give you why I want to do this, Vin. Is about 15% of the audience is overseas, not in Italy, that did not grow up around this. And then probably the other 60% are outside of New York that are really fascinated with, Cosa Nostra. So let's give the real deal, good, bad, and ugly, about how it was to grow up in the fringes of the mob. Joe, go ahead.
Well, I'm originally from Brooklyn, and for me, it was like my dad was just the life that I would experience when I was growing up was just a guy that was a schemer that was involved in drugs. I mean, I remember being around drugs at an early age, like 5 or 6 years old. And I'm like, what's that? Oh, that's like, that's like sugar you put on, your cereal. When you get older, you're going to do this stuff. You know what I mean? And just, he was a bookie. He was a gambler, wannabe tough guy. So, just seen everything at a young age, and thinking about it now, I would never do that to my kids. I would never bring that stuff around, but I guess it was a different time, I mean,
well, the other part is, Joe, if you don't mind, Joe, do you have children?
No.
Okay, you don't have children. So 3 of us.
Soon I will, though.
God bless. God bless.
Thank you. Yep.
So 3 out of 4 of us have children. Mohawk does not have any children that he knows of. But Jason, Brooklyn guy, myself have children. And, we strive to be great fathers, right? Your fatherless absence is what causes a lot of this, right? The truth of the matter is, any wise guy that I knew growing up or any family that was connected, they were terrible fathers or like not there at all. Brooklyn, why don't you give a little bit of feedback in terms of, maybe, could you be a wise guy and a good father?
It's interesting. If you hear some of the people out there that talk about their dads, you would swear they were good fathers. But I think in the Italian tradition, if you grew up in that genre, I think you're very blinded to obviously a lot of things that are normal. I don't see how you can be a good father if you're, that's a nightlife type of thing. You're running around. But take the gumad out of it, where many of them had gumads, because that was like see no evil, hear no evil. So if you didn't know about that, you can't tell me children when they hear the mother and father screaming, don't know that, and it seems like they get a pass. They give their dad a pass on that, which is really the craziest thing out of it all. But especially if that's going on. But I don't think you can personally. But there are other people that have different expectations of a dad. If you're in a beautiful home and you're at a pool club and you're driving a Mercedes at 19 years of age because of what your dad's doing, he's a great dad.
Now, and not to knock certain parts of Italy, because my experience is Sicilian communities, Sicilians tend to be more, what's the word, affable or amiable? The word that the more like
amiable,
like they're more compliant, and it's like kind of part of the Italian culture, like that, like they're graded on a curve, like, oh, that's Zio so and so, and he's somebody, but like we'll hang out with him but not talk to him too much, or oh, you have to kind of do this and this, like as Italian Americans, and I'll ask this to Jason and/or the Mohawk if he's around, is do we grade these guys on the curve being Italian Americans, and if so, why?
Me, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Italian Americans?
Yeah, so like we grew up in like the Italian American culture, right? And we look at the mob differently than an American does, right? And like we're all, and Joe will be too, we're all great fathers, right? We're great fathers, not good fathers. But we came from a generation of guys that were around to knock around guys, and those guys, respectively, a lot of them weren't great fathers, right? Or they weren't great people, or you know what? I know that guy, he killed somebody, but it's okay because it's the mob. Why, as Italian Americans, do we grade them on a curve?
Well, because we consider it as business. We consider it that that life, a guy goes out to feed his family, and it's supposed to be just in that organization where nobody else gets touched. Women, children, outside the public, doesn't get touched. So when people are, killed in that life, they go to prison in that life, it's just business. Okay. And then that's being able to get a pass. And to tell you the truth, I believe that, we look at soldiers. I mean, not to take, look, remember Tony Soprano said it when he was in Dr. Melfi's office. He's like, there were soldiers. When a soldier goes to war and he kills another man, well, that other man was a father, a son, a brother, right? But we look the other way because it's business, it's war, right? When a mob guy kills another mob guy, they both signed up for the same thing. Now, if a mob guy, this would never happen, but if mob guys were walking in 7-Eleven and whacking the guy across the counter, well, nobody would respect that. They don't do that. So we give them a pass because it's business. And listen, rightfully so. I'm not saying the law should give them a pass, but I'm saying rightfully so. Like, hey, listen, it's business, and that's how we portray it. And especially in the Italian American heritage, it's a part of it, big part of it, and it's business as usual. And I think, and to go back to your last point about being a good father, how you make your money, how do I say this without coming out wrong? I think you could be a great father and provide for your family. Vinny's right. Yeah, going out to the nightclubs and all that stuff. Yes, that puts a burden on the family. But you don't have to do that, and you can go out, make a living, and that way, and be a good father. Now, are they good fathers that do that? I'm sure the majority of them aren't, but I'm sure there are a few out there that live that lifestyle that were great fathers.
All right. So
one thing I want to add though is, you guys know, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't gamble.
Yeah.
And my father figure was the worst guy possible. How did that happen? Same with my brother. If you met my brother, I'm not going to say the crime life, that's one thing, but I'm saying like the vices that he had.
Well, I'll share with you the one psychology class I took. And we can have a great psychologist friend of mine on. He's actually Italian American doctor. He's a great guy, Dr. Rossi. But anyway, What I know is, and I go for my family, I take my two older brothers, right? Two oldest brothers. So generally, if somebody drinks a lot, smokes cigarettes, and has a lot of vice, right?
That's another thing, cigarettes.
Generally, my father used to smoke all mall reds, drink Rheingold beer, and
Rheingold, huh?
would bring a jug. Like, remember as a kid? Oh, yeah, when my parents were divorced, would drink like a jug of Carlo Rossi before he drove me home, and I would wait, like, oh, I gotta finish my wine and have my Paul Mall. Oh, I'm gonna finish my beer, and then I'll drive you home. I'm like, okay, like, all right. Anyway, so what happens is there's the emulator and there's a hero. The emulator is a person who wants to be their father. They got to remember too, right? Whether we like it or not, we idolize our parents. I won't say who. He passed fairly recently. He was a wise guy. He was with the Bananas. He was high up. I knew somebody in that family, and she idolized their father. Would always quote him. Would always talk about him. But meanwhile, he was in jail at the time. He was in jail for a long time, and you could tell she missed him. So there's no blame on her or anything. MK Ultra. So anyway, so like we idolize our fathers, right? So we follow the emulator is somebody that does what they do, drink, smoke, and if it's the 70s and 80s, more than likely drugs. That's how I lost my one brother. My brother, Joe, died essentially due to drugs, right? My other brother, whole nother discussion, but he does not drink, very rarely, does not smoke, and that's called the hero, what you're doing, Joe. The hero does the antithesis of the emulator, flies straight and wants nothing to do with it because there's pain associated with those items. And by drinking, and it's funny, I know Joe doesn't drink, but I always ask for a drink. But the subtext is if you had to drink, it probably would feel, not to get too like couchy, you probably would feel some pain. So there's the emulator and there's a hero. So Joe, I want to go a little deeper. So like you have an interesting story about your father. You met him later in life, and if you don't mind, like sharing what you're comfortable sharing with.
What I'm speaking about is my stepfather that raised
your stepfather was like that. Right?
And my real dad, that was a whole nother situation too. He was involved in drugs and alcohol, but I wasn't around him.
But here's what
he was in and out of jail.
But here's what I'm going to get to that. Here's what I don't get, right? We're good fathers, or we try to be good fathers, right? Or try to be great fathers, right? But like we had shitty dads. Vinny, was your dad okay?
No, he was okay.
Okay, good.
Had his issues, but he's okay.
That's why you're semi-normal, right? Jason, how was your father?
Same situation. Oh, well, not the same situation as Joe, but my father, my biological father, who was an immigrant from off the boat, he passed away at 23. So he met me at 3 months old, and then he went away, passed away. Sorry. Then I was raised by a stepfather. So, and who was, as a child, good, as a small child, good. And then when I got into my adolescent years, it became like, I'm the tough guy of the house. And, and then when I became a young adult, he wanted to be my bar buddy. And instead of being my father, he wanted to just be my, a friend, which is good. But you also want the dad there too, right? You want your dad to be your friend, but you also want your dad to be your dad. So he kind of, was up and down in the fatherhood spectrum. I was there when I was a toddler. Nah, when I was a teenager, he really didn't give a shit. Oh yeah, I was there when I was 21. He wanted to be my drinking buddy. And then, okay, now he's not my father anymore because he just wants to be a drinking buddy. So yeah, I guess that stable figure as a father. The answer is no.
Did your stepfather ever meet the Mohawk?
Yes. Yeah, the Mohawk's been on my whole life.
The Mohawk's that old?
Yeah.
I didn't know
27.
I thought I thought you got the Mohawk like recently. I paid no attention to this guy.
I mean, when I was in the military, I had a shaved head, but other than that, no.
And Jason was military, by the way. So just so you guys know, which is thank you.
Yeah, we never say that. Thank you for your service, Jason.
Yes,
we
sir.
never say that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So all right. So But here's the part that okay. So go back to the mob stuff because you know I want to touch on Joe for a
Oh,
second.
we gotta go. I mean, Tom, we're skipping by. I mean, Joe, I don't want to put you on the spot here, Joe. I mean, he's going to brush over. Joe, tell us part of his story. We brush it over.
No, that there's not much of the story. That's it,
But
really.
you didn't,
I
I'm
could go
not
into
putting you on the spot. If you don't want to share it, don't share it. But Tom asked a question, you answered. I mean, can we dive a little deeper? I mean, I don't want to.
Of course you can. You could ask.
Okay, so all right. So
but I'm not leading it here. I'm like, you know,
right. So Joe, just go into it real quick. You were raised by your stepfather.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just tell me the timeline. Okay, you're 1 year old. This is going on. You're 3. You're 5. You're 10.
I didn't know life before him. He was there from when I remember.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Okay, but now bring. So now he's raising you.
And that was part of the issue. I didn't know that about my real dad.
So he thought he was a real father. You thought your stepfather was a real father.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. So, you know, I thought he was my dad, basically.
And was he good to you?
No.
Was he abusive? Was he?
No, just a different set of values. You know, it was like he was a gambler. So, and not a very good one. So, you know, there's a lot of ups and downs in life with that. You know, some days you have money for, you know, lunch, and then some days you don't go into school. So it's up and down. You kind of learn to fend for yourself.
Was he abusive? Was he like, you know,
verbally? Yeah. Physically, not really. A little bit as I got a little older, but I was a tough kid. So we had gotten into an altercation, and basically I had overpowered him at that point. So then it was like, if he had a problem with me, he'd pull out a gun. Like, seriously, that's the type of shit he would do.
Was he, when you walked in the door as a kid, hey, son, hug and a kiss, and hey, how you doing? How's your day?
No.
How's school going?
Nope.
Hey, buddy.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's go out to lunch, buddy. Hey, I miss you. I love you. No.
Hold on, John. I got a question to ask you. Did you go to your prom in high school?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you do the whole photos in front? And if so, was he there?
No. Here's the thing. The photos in front were in front of the girl's house. It wasn't like in front of my house.
Did he go? Did he go?
No.
Did you, when he graduated high school, did he go?
Never went to any of my basketball games, any of my football games, nothing like that.
Wow.
And as a grown man, did you ever say, when you got older, did you say, you know what, not for nothing, you could have been there? Did you ever say anything like that to him?
No, I didn't.
So let me ask you this. When you guys get together is he still alive?
No, he's gone.
When he was alive, did you guys get together on holidays?
No. As I got older, I broke away.
Gotcha. See, that makes sense. I don't understand, and that makes sense to me, Joe. I don't understand how when you become a man, I'm just talking from a man's perspective. If you go through that with your father or your brother, I don't understand how people ignore shit and they get together on Christmas. Hey, Merry Christmas. Hey, Happy Thanksgiving. Hey, but you were a piece of shit to me. And I don't understand how people put that facade on. I respect that, Joe. I respect that. I hate how I don't respect how people put a facade on. Yeah, you beat the shit out of me. Yeah, you were a scumbag to me. Yeah, you don't talk to my mother like shit. Oh, wait a minute. It's Christmas. It's New Year's. Let's get together. Let's have dinner.
Yeah,
like,
but there's people.
Hey, right here with that dinner. Right here with that holiday. Right here.
There's people that that may have some form of PTSD, and they deal with it in different ways. Some people actually, and if Joss is watching, she hates this about me. Sometimes when we argue, I tend to like shut down and like run, fight or flight. I tend to run. She hates that. She's like a fiery Latina. She wants to talk it out. She wants to get it over with. She wants to give me shit, but she wants us to go to sleep like in the same bed, and at the bare minimum, we sleep in the same bed and at least be somewhat cordial, not to go to sleep angry, right? Whereas me, I'm a little bit of a sometimes I'm in flight mode, and that's because I never had a representation of parents that were together and argued and resolved. So I don't have a reference point. So I'm trying to work on take confrontation head on and be better at that, because you are going to argue and you need to know how to argue,
Well, Tom, what about your old man? I mean, personally, I know some things because what you told me, but I mean, did you ever say when you grew up, when you became a father, or I'm sorry, he wasn't around.
Oh, this is
when you,
crazy. Yeah,
when what age? How old were you when your father passed?
17.
17. Okay, 17. Did you ever at 17 or 16 or 15 say, hey, Dad, why you do this to me? Why you like this to me?
I'll give you the quick story. So my father left our family when I was 2. And at that point, imagine you're my mom. You're left with 6 kids, all under the age of like 23, not speaking the language, no job. And they had some property, but he had a better lawyer, so he got most of the property. And she was basically led to fend for herself. She was my father, my mother, right? So I went part-time with him, probably from 6 to 12 on weekends. At Serafino, that's where I spent a lot of time. In Elizabeth, he used to go to the Ribera Club. Sorry, Serafino, but he's half Ribera. We'll go to the Ribera Club and gamble all of his money away with the wise guys. At 12 years old, I thought I was cool. And I said, you know what, Dad, I just don't want to come anymore. I want to hang out with my friends. So I actually, and I also learned the horrific things that he did to my father and my family. I don't want to get into it yet, like something that's like super bad.
Wait, you got mixed up there. The horrific things that he did to your father. What are you talking? Your grandfather?
My father did horrific things to my family, and as I got older, I learned about that, but never to me. That's why it's weird. I have this weird thing where like I'll meet a wise guy or former wise guy or a serial killer or anybody, and like if they're okay to me, they're okay to me because it's like I didn't see what they did firsthand. Does that make sense? So
well, you didn't. Yeah, you weren't there, but I think as you now, if when you became, you were young when he passed, but again.
Well, let me finish. There's more to the story. So what happened was I went to go bring my brother, drive him to Elizabeth to drop him off. And there's a bar them two had hung out with. My brother Joe is the emulator, the one who passed. And I was like 17 years old. And my father was playing a Joker poker, having a cigarette. I walked over to him. According to him, and I don't know if I believe it, according to him, thanks, buddy. We're gonna all super chats are gonna go towards the I was gonna have an ass in my face. All super chats are gonna go towards the the 4 Horsemen Fund. We're working on some things that we're looking to help out some guys. So thank you for that, Ali. And I know Joe appreciates.
Thank you. Yep, of course. Thank you, man. Thank everyone. Yep.
So with that being said, though, when I met him at 17, according to him, he didn't recognize me. Yeah, he didn't recognize me.
Wow.
I don't know if he was drunk. I don't know if he was like had an ego. I don't know what it was. He didn't recognize me. So he got sick.
No, but Tom, don't. I don't want to. What do you mean he didn't recognize you?
I said, my brother goes, Joe, Tommy's here. He looks up. He goes, Makia. I'm like, Dad, it's me. He's like, oh.
I would think that's ego.
I don't know. So then shortly thereafter, because he used to drink like a fish, started throwing up blood, went to Elizabeth, not St. Elizabeth, the other one, the Serafino, remind me, Elizabeth General, the one in the back. And he was in the ICU, and I went to visit him. And then they sent him to Newark, which is not a good thing when you're in the ICU. It means he was really bad. And next thing you know, I'm 17 years old. My mother hands in my face. So next thing I know, my father's dead. And that was it. They didn't get to say goodbye officially. And so I tried.
Funeral?
Yeah, went to the funeral. It was at
Who held the funeral? Who had it?
No, he kind of aligned with his sister and their family and like over us. So he had a lot of money that we never got. So I don't want to say too much, but and we had it actually going back to the mob. We had it at Corsatino Funeral Home, who's an alleged made member of the Cavalcantes. Yeah, but anyway, Alexia. Well, I don't know what it is now, but and Serafini, you may be young. but he used to be Elizabeth General. St. Elizabeth is now Trinitas. That's where I was born. And then anyway, so I didn't recognize him, and he'd passed. It was really rough, nevertheless, because it's still your father. And
Oh,
yeah,
you really were sad when he passed.
of course. I'm very upset. To this day, I'm upset because I wish I had that conversation. You know?
Yeah.
I wish I had that conversation. But here's what's weird, and here's what I also want to chat about. I want to hear Vinny's story in a minute. Is we're better fathers now, but we didn't have a good representation. And I know Joe is going to be a good father too. Why is that? I always kind of wonder. You know.
Why would we be better fathers than the representation that we
We
had?
talk about that old school generation, hardworking fathers, good fathers. You know,
Right.
Long Cassidy, tough as nails.
Right.
You know, like my wise guy father rolled with a lot of wise guys. Like was a big player, had a ton of money back then. Probably a ton of women too. Another discussion. And long story short, like we look at that time as like a better time. But meanwhile, I think our generation are better fathers. Vinny, why don't you go by your experience a little bit?
Well, because I think our generation now is a generation where you can touch and you can feel and you don't have to hold back. Remember the old Italian fathers? You know, you could have a bone sticking through your leg, a compound fracture. Oh, just rub it and, you'll be fine. You know, the world has softened, and so has the Italian American. They're more American now. It's more, I think that they say you learn from the sins of your father. You know, I remember I always thought, and I always thought this, and I even believe it more to this day. When you're young, you love your father to death, whatever he does, because you look at him like he's Superman. Then as a teenager, you start resenting the fact that he's not Superman. He can't beat up everybody. He's not the best at everything like he was when you were 7. Then as you get older, as an older adult, you respect him for not being Superman, and you respect him for just being a real guy.
Yeah.
And I think that has crossed cultures now, where I think the Italian Americans are much more Americanized. They would never believe in, you sit at the kitchen table and iron out your differences. You don't go see a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
They didn't believe in that. No, what's the matter? You sit at the table. Everything was done at your kitchen table. If you remember, you could have the most beautiful living room or anything. That kitchen table, if it had speakers, you could broadcast for years with that thing. And I think that just the world has changed. And I think the Italians slow dragged it, but they came along with the world. And I think they've evolved. And now I think with everyone your children are dealing with now, everyone, it's so eclectic now. You don't have those pockets like we had where everybody was in Bensonhurst. You're with a lot of other children, your kids. It's not quite as tight. And I think that we became more Americanized. That's what I think happened.
So we're like what kind of, we're on the fringes of the mob, right? Joe, was your stepfather in or around that life?
Yes.
Can you speak to as much as you're comfortable to about it?
In what regard?
Like, was he around certain guys? Was he like an associate? Would he go to the gambling clubs? Like, what was his involvement?
The gambling clubs, yep. Gambler. So you're up and down, you win, you lose, borrowing money, people coming to the house. Fucking trust me. Like, that's why I said, if I could, my mom wouldn't come on, but she'll tell you the stories, okay? Because he was borrowing money from people like Roy DeMeo and having his people come over, and the Wimpy crew, he dealt with them. The kid Paul, the one that died of AIDS, he owed money to everyone. And what's crazy is his father was a wise guy, but he kept it from his dad. He wouldn't let his father know what he was doing.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And that became a big problem towards the end, because he did find out what happened.
Well, you're one of the few guys that, like, I would say, like, you kind of have guys and gals, but guys that are people that grew up like in or around the life, right? Or they're in the life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you have like the mobologists. You're like one of the few people that kind of had feet in both. So how does like Joe being the mobologist and like Joe who saw it firsthand, which I can't imagine a good representation. How do you reconcile that, like mob life and that kind of stuff? On one end, as a mobologist, holy shit, this is pretty cool. On the other end, you're like, wow, these guys are going good things, you know?
Well, because I mean, I don't know. I guess it's more of like what my stepfather did. Like, I really don't even think about it too much. I try to like keep that out of my mind, and not even think about it. But there's one thing I want to say moving back. You said, why do we become good fathers?
Yeah.
I think it's because we, like, for example, when I had a basketball game, my family didn't show up. So it made me feel a certain way. So now
hold on. Jason shot me a text. Why would they watch him on the bench?
What?
Joking. It's a joke. Why would they come watch you sit on the bench? It was a joke. That was
Yeah,
thank
you.
Mohawk.
That sounded like the
I mean,
Mohawk.
I made sure all the players were hydrated real well. That's important, right? Like, I got to make sure, made sure the water cooler was clean. They had, clean cups and whatnot.
They weren't slipping on the floor. The floor
exactly.
was dry.
Water got on the floor, I'd wipe it up.
And maybe this is another topic. I want to know why. I said this to my mother. Why, Ma? Why did you let him be a piece of shit to me? Why did you let him be a piece of shit to your brother, your sister?
Been down that road.
Why did you? And I don't want to be out of line here. And excuse me for cursing, but I can't. If my hands aren't waving and I'm not cursing, I can't talk.
Well, no, you're just covered the demonetization. We're good.
Because the thing is, I went down that road with her, but women and men are two different things. A man is going to overpower a woman. I mean, it's just the way it is. Women.
Your mother never said, and again, I'll bring up my topic. My mother was like, well, what do you want me to do? And this is when I was an adult. What do you want me to do? Be a mother. Be a mother first. That's what I said to my mom. Be a mom. You're a mother first. I'm a father first. I'm a father first.
I didn't talk to
my
her
kids.
for years.
You're out of my life.
I didn't talk to her for years.
Woman, I don't care. Done. See you. Out. Done.
Wait,
no excuses.
Hold on.
So when my mom was like, oh, no. And I love my mother to death. She was a great mom. Oh, but what you want me to do? Okay, well, here's what I'm going to do now as a grown man. I don't want that in my life or my children's life. Bye. See ya. You want to come around? You come around. Because it ain't going to happen generation after generation after generation.
Does the Mohawk talk to him?
That's a little different. You just got to throw that in.
That's the last time you see me being serious.
Yeah, but you know,
I don't mean to minimize. I react to depth and conversation with humor, so forgive me.
Yeah, but I went through that.
Hold on. I don't want him to be butthurt. Go, keep going, bro. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No. I'm just saying, I think our mothers, they should have stepped up, and they should have straightened the shit out and not let it happen.
What did your mom say, if you don't mind me asking?
well, my father, he was the provider. My mother didn't work. So again, we're really old school. Like, my wife doesn't work. My mother didn't work. My grandmothers didn't work. Like, the women didn't work in our family. They provided for they watched the family. They raised the children. They did everything around the house. And so my mother was like, well, what am I going to do? He provides. He puts a roof over our heads. He puts the clothes on our back. Okay, yes, great. That doesn't give you a right to be a piece of shit. Just because I buy my kids, Frosted Flakes for breakfast doesn't mean I get to, beat them up and, abuse them verbally. Just because I buy them a pair of sneakers doesn't mean, I should treat them like shit. It doesn't mean, just because I put a roof over your head doesn't mean I get to slap you around, And,
Right.
And to me, she should have said, you're gonna provide, and you're going to provide and you're going to keep providing. I don't give a shit, but you're not going to treat us this way. You're not going to treat my kids this way. You're not going to treat me this way. Yeah.
So this is a important discussion. So Vinny, right? You're the tenure guy of the group. You know, you could probably speak best to the mentality of his mother in that generation. Not that you have to stick up and defend her, but what's you know, so you grew up with the pterodactyls and the brontosauruses.
I know.
Just messing with you.
I know.
God's gonna kill me because she goes, "You're not allowed to roast Vinny." She goes, "The mohawk all day long, but Vinny's off limits." So I'm on the couch. I'm on the couch again tonight. Anyway.
Oh no.
No, I'm just kidding, Vinny. I'm messing with Vinny. All joking aside, can you speak the best you can to that generation? Now that you're sticking up for Jay's mom.
No, I can. In fact, I was going to interrupt them, which I'm good at. When I was 12, my mother had a little cake for me because, you know, you graduate public school, you go into junior high. My grandfather was an alcoholic, her father. Well, I heard the story. He didn't come. And I heard the story that he was all dressed, walked into the bar Monday morning, and the bartender said, "Frank, what are you all dressed up for? It's Monday." He goes, "I have my grandson's graduated party." He goes, on a Monday? He goes, "What do you think? What do you mean Monday?" He slept all through Sunday. He thought it was Monday when he woke up. He thought it was Sunday. And I was very annoyed. And I wasn't annoyed. But then other things happened. And I told my mother, like, that's not okay. You're enabling him. But I see it's hard to talk to your mother. But that generation, and my mother wasn't off the boat, but that generation was, it's your father. Now, some women would be very worried that, you know, look at abused women. Where are they going to go? They have no money, they have no credit, they have no roof over their head, and women still to this day get abused in a relationship because they have nowhere to go. Where a lot of these women, if here's $1 million check, some of them still wouldn't go. When you're under that kind of control, and I think that's a lot of it with the old world. It's the old world. Listen, Italian guy. I remember, and I don't know if it's true because it's way before my time, even though I did have Jesus's beeper number. When I figured you'd like that one. Remember when the old Italians, and they'd say, "Oh, she's going to get some beaten. She opens her mouth." And that shit that was in movies. Yeah. And it came from somewhere. Like they said, the old Italian men, they didn't take any shit. I don't think they were all beating their wives, but I think certain things were more accepted back then.
Well, having from the old school, having a gumad was acceptable in the culture back then. Not justifying it, but it was accepted. Good luck having that now. You'll be prickless.
In the mob, though, in the mob culture, right? Not just in any
Italian culture, Italian American.
Really? Oh, I thought that was just to the mob with the mob.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion. I'd like to do an episode on. And I tried to get my friend C-Stat, and he kind of got the question, but he kind of didn't. I was trying to get a feel for, is the Italian culture and the Italian American culture superimposed over the mob culture, or are they different? I actually believe they're different. I don't want to go. We'll get there. We'll get there. I think they're different. I'll get to it in a minute. But I do believe that cheating was acceptable. Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Italian American culture for men, if cheating was acceptable.
I don't think so, but I think they just put up.
I didn't think so.
Same difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
then, look at it back then. The old Italian wives, they had no credit. They had no. Where were they going to go?
Yeah.
He ran the house on fear, though. That was another thing. So it's like, trust me, like I seen him bust his gun. Believe me, like some crazy ass shit, like in Brooklyn, like shooting at people outside the house. You know what I mean? Like on the fucking patio, fucking.
Oh, that's
fucked
up, letting his pistol go, and I'm like 8 years old, looking at him like, what the fuck?
Yeah, my father had a loaded shotgun in the trunk of the station wagon. It would like move around, and it was like loaded in the closet, just like there.
Loaded shotgun. My friends would come over to hang out after school.
God.
He'd be sitting there with the fucking sports book fucking racing form or whatever, and he's fucking got a pistol next to him, just like chilling, drinking coffee. Like, hey guys, come over here and sit down. And there's this big 357 fucking with a 6-inch barrel, and he's just like talking to you like nothing. Hey, how are you? How's everything going? Yep.
Hold on. I want to go back to Joe in a second. So Jason, Andrew has a son cannot be a man until he wants to be, until after his father's passing. What do you think of that statement, Mohawk or JSV, either or?
A son cannot be a man until his father passes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I disagree.
Why?
I believe here's how you're a man. Ready? You want to know the definition of a man? A man is you protect and provide for those around you. You protect and provide. There you go. That's how you're a man.
You want to know what though?
And there's a lot of men, or there's a lot of men, as in physically they're a man, that don't protect and provide. Okay.
But you know what I did? So in 2001, I stopped talking to my mother because of the whole beef I had with her husband, my stepdad, or whatever. So in 2006, I get a phone call from my brother. He's like, Dad's dead. I said, what do you mean? He's in bed. He died. He just didn't wake up or whatever. Okay. I hadn't talked to my mom in 5 years.
When you say
Thank you,
dad,
Rio.
Vinny, when you say dad, which dad? Your biological, or we're not even talking about him?
We're not even talking about him.
Gotcha. Go.
So the minute I found that out, and he's like, Mom's not doing too good, I was on a plane to Vegas the next day. Okay? And you know what happened? I went, talked to my mother for the first time in 5 years. She had nothing, bro. No money, nothing. Just her apartment, the rent was paid till the fucking end of the month, whatever. I said, you know what? I'm doing good. Boom, get your shit together, get packed up. I moved her in with me, and she's with me till this day. So when you say
in Vegas or in New York?
What?
In Vegas or New York? You brought her back to New York?
I brought her back to Staten Island. Yeah, I brought her back to what? Yeah, because I was in Staten Island.
So you see that? You see that? You see that? I'm sorry. Who made that comment? Tommy.
Gunner?
Andrew White. Which one? Last one?
Huh?
Which comment? The Andrew White.
So nobody taught Joe to do that. But you instinctively know as a man, it's in us to do that, right? Took his mom, took care of his mom. It was in him, instinctively in him. He did it, right? You decide to be a piece of shit if you want to be a piece of. You decide that. It's a decision to not give a shit.
Okay, so hold on. So Joe, talk about your real father. You met him for the first time at like 24, right?
Yep. I met him because I wasn't doing good, and I was living with my uncle upstate. And one day he's like, someone wants to talk to you. It was my grandfather.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, who I'm named after.
Wow.
So he was like, oh, he's explaining to me, like, you know, about my dad or whatever. He's going to give you a call or whatever. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. He's like, I hadn't seen them probably since 1 or 2 years old. So I don't remember them. So we're just catching up on old times or whatever. You know what I mean? He's explaining to me the family situation, who's still alive, who's this, who's that. He's like, your old man will give you a call. I'm going to call him now. Just, you know, he'll be getting in touch with you. Next thing I know, I get a phone call. It's my dad. He's asking me how I'm doing. I say, yeah, I'm explaining to him my situation. He's like, all right. He's like, you got a car? I'm like, no. Okay. He's like, you got money? I'm like, nah, I'm okay. Next thing I know, he's sending me money. Sent me money the next day. He's like, come down to Staten Island. You know, I want to meet you. I met up with him. He bought me a car. Then eventually he's like, yo, come to Staten Island. I'll get you a job or whatever. You could work with me. And then the relationship just grew from there. And
Why then though?
what do you mean?
Why did you reach out then?
What? I didn't reach out.
No.
Joe, why at 24, Joe? Why at 24, Joe? Why not at 14? Why not at 4, Joe? That's what we're saying.
Why what?
Why did he reach out to you at 24, Joe?
He didn't reach out to me.
Why?
My uncle reached out to him.
Why did it happen at 24, Joe? Why didn't it happen at 12? Why did it happen then?
Because he thought that my mom was remarried, okay, which he was, and that this guy was, and like I said, he was in and out of jail. He was fucking.
Gotcha.
He was.
Gotcha. So there was turmoil throughout your whole.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yep. He was in and out of jail. He was drinking, drugs, fucking living the street life. In 1998, he got out and he was clean. And I met him a year and a half later.
Gotcha.
Probably wouldn't have met him if he drank, because I wouldn't want to be around him.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's.
Is he alive today?
Died in 2010. Very sad too, because
you were close with him.
Oh yeah.
So then when he passed, you were heartbroken.
You know what, man? Death has always been around. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean it's sad, but it's just something you deal with. I try not.
I know it's something you deal with, but I'm saying you were like, oh my God, my father just passed, and it was a sad day for you, or you were like, oh well.
Like, no, it's still a sad day. I mean,
okay, that's what
obviously it bothers me, you know what I mean? But I met my wife. Actually, he died like 6 months after I was married. He died. So he got to see me get married. I owned the house, which he helped me with. I mean, he helped me with everything. So
wow, so he turned that relationship around.
It's crazy. Yep. Anything I needed. And it was more like a friendship type thing. I mean, he was my dad, but it was more like, like what do you need? You know what I mean? You need this, you need that. Oh, you need a new TV. Okay, I'll get. He took care of me, like he really did. Yeah.
So did that because you grew up with the stepfather, who was it? Wait, do you have a landline?
Who doesn't?
I don't.
Who does?
Who does?
Yeah, you get cell phone service in your house. I got dead spots in my house.
You've been in my house. There's a cell tower on top of my roof.
Exactly. Vinny, you don't have a landline?
I have one that came with the Verizon package, but I never plugged into it.
Same here. I pay for a landline. I don't even have a land phone, but I have to pay for it because it's in my package.
Vinny has a rotary phone.
No,
my grandmother had one.
No, it came with it. It came with the whole package when I bought the house. But
yeah,
I never plugged anything into it.
I never plugged it in either.
And then Joe, normally you get a landline because of the alarm, right? But nowadays the alarms are all apps and everything. You don't even need one for that.
You know what? I have an alarm, but I also have 2 alarms. One's a border collie and one's a Maltese.
That's it.
You even walk close. You walk on the street. They hear you. They hear the mailman. Not even when he's at my house. That's why I had to tell you I had to go answer the door because someone walked by the door. My dogs were barking. I had to go bring them downstairs.
I got a funny telephone story. So my mother and I are going to Italy in like 1994, 95. And at the time, cordless phones were not. They didn't have them. It's weird. At least in my mother's town in Italy, they weren't really introduced yet. But of course, we had them here. Remember the cordless phones, right? So we get the customs, and they're not allowed. We're like 6 of them. So one valise had 3, the other one had 3. So she got caught with 3, right? So she's used to the old Italy, and she's there with like the customs agent. She proceeds to like, all right, how much is going to cost me? She tried to pay up.
Oh my God,
Signora.
Oh man,
I know you haven't been around in a while. Italy's a lot different.
That's hilarious.
Before you proceed, you're about to bribe because of the show.
Can you imagine that's Tom's record and all it is? Everybody, Tom's record riding an officer with a phone.
She's like, he's thinking, oh, that's another 100. Like,
Oh my God.
So then we're
That's
coming
hilarious.
back. We're coming back, I want to say, from another time we went to Italy. I think this is 05. And the Pope died. I think Raimondi killed him. The Pope died. Raimondi, when did you kill the Pope? The Pope died. And in Italy, the Pope dying, and I don't mean to no disrespect, but it's like JFK dying, Elvis.
That was 2005 when he died, John Paul.
All rolled into one times 1,000. They shut down Fiumicino Airport. Okay. So finally, after Fiumicino opens, we're going on the plane. And I did not have a full beard, but I hate shaving. In Italy, I would go for $3, for €3.50 equivalent. You got to shave every single day. It was worth it. Or every other day, right? So anyway, so I let it grow out a little bit. I'm about to go on the plane. The Carabinieri stops me and sees I have a little bit of a scruff, and this is 4 years after 9/11, and he goes, "You got to wait over there. We have to ask you some questions." I'm a kid. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm not a kid, but what was I, probably 30, right? 30. So my mother goes, "You're stopping him while you're letting all the terrorists on the plane." And the Carabinieri is like, "Old lady, you can't talk to us like that." She's like, "I'll talk to you how I want." Like, we was gonna arrest them.
God.
Not the U.S. Like, I would still be there. Anyway,
That's funny.
The difference of the generations and stuff. Oh my God.
Yep.
So all right. So I want to start over Joe. You know, again, being kind of a mobologist, right? But kind of having access to the life and knowing what it's really about. I'm going to ask this question. When did the mob stop being cool for you? Because let's be honest, we wouldn't be here. It's a cool thing theoretically, right? But when did it stop being cool? It's like it still is.
See, you know what's happening right now? My brain is saying one thing, and I'm thinking, do I just come out and say this? And is this going to create a problem saying it?
Don't get me up.
So,
You know, I got college football. I got a lot of shit going on. I'm here. You say it. That's why we're here, Joe. Do not hold back. What's the point of being here if we're going to hold back? Say it.
I got a text from the Mohawk.
It's never, you know what? It's always been not a big part of my life. I mean, it's just, you know, I've been around a lot of people. So I know names and, you know, like I still live in Staten Island. So it's like, you know, you hear about something and it's like, oh, okay, really? He lived down the street from me, you know? And like when you meet people on Staten Island, everybody knows everybody. So you hear all the stories. So I guess it's kind of cool because it brings you back to a time when you were younger, you know what I mean? When you were a kid, it's nostalgic really, but it's not really a big part of my life. It's just, I know about it.
You know what I mean? Like growing up, I always actually thought it was cool, right? Because I got totally detached from it. And I've been around, like, so I was in a weird situation. So like, although I grew up in Elizabeth, my father had a building down Port, and he had a apartment like underneath the building where he lived. But it was in a really bad area. Port Elizabeth was bad. So I didn't grow up in like Petersburg or Peterstown, kind of hang out in the street, hang out around the Italians. And then in my town, Roseville Park, was a lot of Italians, but a lot of Irish and Italian together, right? And like other white kids mostly. So with that being said, though, I didn't get direct access. But because I lived in the suburbs, and I always, or if I'm going to Brooklyn, it'd be like Dr. Heights, the people that you would be around were more like the people that made money and had money because they were in those areas, right? The street guys that were earning nickel and diamond, they were still like in the city stuff. But like I was always, anybody I knew was like administration, believe it or not. Not that I was a big deal. It's just that like they migrated, right? You get out of Elizabeth, you move to Edison, you move to in Jersey, you move to Roseville Park, you move here, you move there. So my point being was I always thought it was cool. believe it or not, the more I started interviewing mobsters, the more I started interviewing mobsters, the more off-putting the actual life was. I kind of got off-putted because I realized that, like, I don't know if you could have a normal life, in the mob. Vinny, give me like your impression of the mob growing up and how has it formed over the years?
Well, when I was young, I experienced it probably. I thought about it maybe at 11 or 12 because that's where I was, and you'd hear stories and who was the tough guy. And by the teens, you got to remember, in my teens, I was in the late 70s, and that's when, it was like Wild Wild West. Everything was happening. Galenti got killed in 79, all that stuff. Gambino died a couple of years before that. So there was a lot of in-your-face front page news about the mob at that time. And then the 80s come and look at the Wild Wild West, the 80s, the Colombo War, and then you had, Castellano. So you really had a run of 15 years where it was in your face every day. Now you look, there's a little article on page 18. You don't see it. There was something every day about the mob back then. And I grew up seeing these guys with the nice cars and this and that. And you saw the everyday guy. Great line. Ray Liotta says, "Now I'm just an everyday schnook," or whatever he said. Because, the working guy went 9 to 5 and the other guys are hanging out having coffee with the brand new Eldorado and all this shit. And then when I got involved, I realized it's not really it is what I thought it was, but there's so much more to it. It's so much more complex, and there's so much more to lose. It's a game when you're looking at everybody else walking around, but when you have a shot at going away, that's when it changed for me. When I saw shit, they led me out in cuffs, and neighbors saw it, and all that. I said, "This isn't too good," And then it's a very, very humbling experience when you have everything taken from you, and you realize that the adulation that you thought because you were hooking up with wise guys is not nearly as bad as the negativity that your family thinks about you, and neighbors that are straight people that saw you in the paper and you conned them for years because they always saw you had a nice car. But I worked, so I had a job most of the time, so I could show why I had a nice car. It wasn't all day hanging around where they didn't think that I just wasn't working or anything, But it was rough. It's rough, and God, I wouldn't do it. Not just because it's not the right time to do it. I'm not saying don't do it because it's hard to get away with it now. You just don't do it.
Well, let me ask you this. So you brought up 3 critical material events, important events in mob history. You had Carlo Gambino die. You had Galante killed, and then the Castellano had 3 really important. So then maybe Sammy was the 4th, right?
Right.
With that being said, though, and I think we all agree that the mob, it was like a slow burn to death. I don't think it just fell off. I think it was a slow burn, right? But you being kind of a neighborhood guy, you're living in Brooklyn, Queens, wherever you live.
Yeah.
Of those 3 or 4 things, what was their immediate difference in the neighborhood after, and that you felt it almost as a civilian, or did that mob life have no effect on your daily life?
What do you mean?
So you're living in a neighborhood, right, whether Brooklyn or Queens.
Okay.
Right? And I'll pick 4 different time points. Yeah,
Okay.
Carlo Gambino died in 76. You have Galante killed in 79, Castellano in 85, and Sammy flipping in 92. Now these are things that, the mob is a parallel universe, right?
Right.
You living in those neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 4, after they happened, did you feel any transition in the neighborhood or anything different in the neighborhood after any of those 4 time points, and if so, which of the 4 had an effect indirectly on your life?
Yeah, I think when Carlo Gambino died, now it might have been my age too. I'm curious what Jason thinks of this, and even you can get the Mohawk involved. I think that it was like your grandfather dying when Carlo Gambino died. When Gotti died in the area, it was like the president dying. When Gravano flipped, it's like your best friend cheated on your wife or something. There were so many emotions that went through, and I always wondered, is it because of my age that I was a different age, so I would
Yeah, you're
receive
old.
these things differently,
Mhm.
right? Like, but Carlo Gambino, if you showed his picture, okay, the first thing that people would say if you showed Iowa or whatever, oh, what a sweet old man. If you showed John Gotti's
I'd say,
picture,
look at that fucking schnozola. Holy
no,
shit.
but you know what I mean. John Gotti picture. Wow, movie star. What does he do? Uh, it was just your perception. I think that Brooklyn, as much as Gotti was all Queens and all that, I just don't think there was anything quite like Brooklyn. It was a little different. The like Nabla and Sicilian,
Yeah.
the adversarial. It's subtle, but it's there. And I think that's the difference. That's why, listen, all you hear about is Brooklyn. And Queens was, you had the biggest gangster in the last 100 years in Queens. But still, people talk about Brooklyn.
Well, I want to go a little deeper on that, right? So what I'm saying is, like, for example, in Brooklyn, after Carlo went, 4 years later, the neighborhood kind of changed. I'm not talking about like gentrification. I'm talking about like directly mob related stuff. Or did after Castellano go? Was there like a shit show? Like, I want to get a feel for the like, you have the mob lane, right? And you have Italian American community, and they ran parallel and many times intersected.
Right.
I want to get a feel for the guy in Sweden, the guy watching outside of New York. I want to get a feeling for, of those four events or another event that like changed the neighborhood, the feel, like like after Sammy flipped, like he didn't really want to go to 18th Avenue, or
Right.
introduced to the neighborhood. I want to know the serendipitous effects of those actions that spilled over into the Italian American.
After Gotti, it changed. I think the mob was just a different face. People knew who Castellano was too in the area. They knew it was the brother-in-law. Things didn't change. It started changing in the 80s when you started hearing no one was making money because of Castellano and all that. But the world had changed in the 80s also. Look at the 70s. The economy was dead in the 70s, not for mobsters, right? In the 80s, you didn't have to work and you had money in your pocket. Everybody had money in the 80s. The 80s was just such a different decade of decadence and everything was in your face. But no, I don't think things changed much after Carlo. I think after Gotti, then, because you got to remember, after Gotti, I think people thought, wow, is this the end of the mob? No one thought it was the end of the mob after Carlo Gambino died. After Gambino died, it was like, all right, well, you have a new principal in the school now. All right. After Gotti, it was like, what direction? Where are we going now? Nothing really changed after Carlo died. Same everything. When Gotti went away, it was like, now, where are we here?
Got it.
And that's what I think.
Great question by BK Skip. How about the feel in Howard Beach the day after Favara disappeared?
I didn't know. What year was that?
1980.
I was in Brooklyn. I wasn't in Queens. I wasn't hanging out in Howard Beach. So I didn't know anyone over there. I don't know.
Was Al Sharpton loved in Howard Beach?
I doubt it, but I don't know. I wasn't there when he was
They
there.
loved him in Bensonhurst.
Well, so I don't know. A lot of people know this, and it resides on the same channel, Legacy New Theory. I interviewed Al Sharpton, and he tells a story when he was a younger guy. There was a black gentleman who was in jail in the hole in upstate, like down in Maryland or whatever it was. But his mother was a prominent ex-Black Panther. So the Black Panther group reached out to him and said, hey, we need you to help this guy out. He goes up, sits down with the kid, helps him out. He had some state connections, so he got him out of the hole, right? Turns out it was Tupac. Who was Tupac?
Right.
Who was Tupac very close, if not best friends in jail? Joey Fama.
Yeah.
Joey
That's
Fama
something.
is the one who killed, or part of the group that was convicted of being killed, Yusef Hawkins. And then when Al Sharpton was walking in Bensonhurst protesting, he was stabbed in the heart. And he talks about it on my interview, the whole thing. And if you guys like, I'll drop it on the
Yeah.
if you guys want to check it out.
I don't know if you went into this because I didn't see the interview. Did you know that he was a child prodigy pianist?
No, I didn't know that.
Who? Al Sharpton?
Child prodigy pianist. Yep. I was shocked when I heard that.
What was funny was I interviewed Francis not long before, but I was going to bring up Francis to Al Sharpton, but I didn't. I was like, this close. I was going to. That would have been interesting.
I have to watch that interview.
Probably got more views. So, okay. So, Joe, when you were in Vegas, was there any LCN activity out there when you were out there?
Big time. Yep.
What families were out there?
All of them.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I became friendly with someone who's still out there. And illegal gambling in Las Vegas, crazy.
What?
Oh, forget it.
That makes no sense.
It makes a lot of sense. You got money to pay now, you square up on Mondays. You get it on credit. Casino's not giving you a line of credit.
Interesting.
Oh, it's huge.
Interesting.
And then there's a bunch of, you know how much money is in Las Vegas? So there's a lot of criminals out there, and there's a lot of money. And you go in those sports books, and a lot of people need money in those sports books too.
Sure.
And the drugs and every other thing, the freaking telecommunication scams, the phone card scam, all that.
Joe, you're a straight guy. You're a straight shooter. You don't drink. You don't no drugs, no nothing. Why Vegas?
Because my mom had an uncle out there. My mother had an uncle.
Oh, you moved out there as a kid or as an adult?
I moved out there in my teens.
Oh, okay.
And then I came back. I went back and forth.
Did you get in trouble while you're out there? Because that's like Trouble City.
Most definitely. That's why
Joe,
I'm here.
you knew a lot of people without naming names in Las Vegas. Maybe you could verify this once and for all, and then we could drop it. Is it true that the Mohawk is in the Black Book?
Yes.
No, he's actually
He wasn't.
He's just been removed, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just been removed. He was up for proposal, but they knocked it down.
Jason? I don't know if I told you. Well, I should have surprised you. Do you know what we're going to do with the pictures? A picture of Chucky with a Mohawk. And that is going to be the picture there.
Jason, I'm sorry, bro, but with Vinny, he's never letting this Mohawk thing
No,
go.
you gave a bipolar guy a subject to obsess on. That was not a good idea.
He's going to be 70 years old with no hair. He's going to be asking you about the Mohawk.
Jason, just if he goes on an episode, like meaning not an episode, but if he goes on a bipolar episode,
Like last night,
he may focus in on the Mohawk, and if you grow a little hair, and he will come with like a buzzer, and be like, you gotta
cheers, yeah.
See them all. So Jason,
I can't take that kind of change.
I don't want to put Jason on the spot, but it will. So Jason has, he's a good guy, he's a straight guy, everything's great. However, you were younger, you were around certain gentlemen over in Belleville and Bluefield Ave, Tommy Stiggs area. Without naming names, give us a little bit of the landscape and what were those guys into?
Yeah, so my area, of course, it was everything. It was loan sharking. It was a lot big gambling. Okay.
I used to play poker on Bluefield Ave a lot. Totally hate mob games, but anyway.
Yeah. And then of course the drug game. I got into gambling, and then I was collecting. I had about 10, I think at one point I had 15 guys under me. And I was getting 25%. There was no black or red. My guys won 5,000 one week. If they lost 5,000 the next week, I would get still my 25% on the losses.
That's great.
Yeah.
Really quick. Vinny, did he not have a half sheet because he might have been younger? He didn't know the game as well.
Generally, a half sheet, you're responsible if they go bad.
If you didn't want it, okay.
That's why they're giving you more. A 25-cent sheet, you're kind of responsible, but you know they'll work with you.
I was responsible. Again, at that half sheet though, if you had to meet your guy, he gave you 10 grand, and you paid your players 10 grand. They have to now lose that 10 grand back.
Right.
It didn't matter. I could pay him 20 grand 1 week, my guys, and if the next week they lost 5 grand, I would get still my commission.
That's amazing. The guy was being fair with you, whoever was dealing with you.
That went on my whole life. You know, as long as I did it for.
I want to finish your part, and I want to talk about that clawback for people who want to learn a little bit about the inside of the gambling. But keep going, Jason.
So, and then there was guys. I knew guys who were in the drug game who then would pay for protection, or I don't even know what the protection was, but they paid a percentage to guys.
It's called rent.
What's that?
It's called rent.
Right. Yeah, but see, Jersey's set up different. Like, in New York, it's like, this corner, that corner, Jersey's like, you got to take a ride a half hour away and, or an hour away. And it's like, they're not right there on top of you. You know what I mean? And, so I never understood, like, you're paying this guy, but, when the guy went away, he wasn't hiring a lawyer for him. He wasn't, he wasn't protecting his territory, right? He wasn't. And what are you paying the guy for? I never understood what you're paying him for. Usually you pay a guy because he's protected. He's giving you the territory. He's making sure nobody bothers you. If you get busted, he's bailing you out, right? That wasn't happening. But they would bust your balls to pay him. But anyway, so that was in my area. The paying for protection. If you were in the illegal aspect, and then the gambling, and then the loan sharking, and then I didn't deal with the drug issue, the situation. I was more into the gambling.
So hold on, walk me through this. You have a quarter sheet, right? You have a quarter sheet. Week 1, Joe's your only customer. Joe wins. Joe wins 5,000. Your guy gives Joe 5,000.
Yeah, I would go to Belleville. I would meet up with my guy. It didn't have to be Belleville, but sometimes we would meet other places. But I would drive up north, exit 151, and he would give me the 5 grand, and I would go, pay my players, pay Joe.
Okay, so then watch the next week, right? The next week, you got the 5,000 from your upline. The next week, they win another 5 grand. Are you on the hook for that, or is Joe?
Wait,
are you on the hook for that? Is your upline responsible?
No, my guy. I would have to go meet my guy who would give me the 5 grand to pay Joe.
Give me a case when you have to dig out of your pocket to cover a win or a loss.
That would be like, okay. So here's where it gets shaky. If my buddy, now Joe's my friend, right? Joe comes to me and says, Jay, he loses 1,000. But I got to make sure my guy's only going to give me what he owes me. For instance, if Joe wins 1,000, loses 1,000, but John wins 1,000, my guy's like, give me 1,000 to pay John. I got to get 1,000 from Joe, my player, to pay.
We're on the hook for that.
Well, Joe's going to give me 1,000 so I can pay him. My guy's going to, Now, I've gone to my guy. I've gone to him and say, hey, listen, this guy, he ain't got the money. And it's been a lot of money. My guy gave me the money. I mean, he was good to me. He was like, this guy's going to going on a weekly payment plan. We got to shut him off. He's going to, we don't want the operation to stop because this guy don't have the money to pay. So I would go to my guy and say, listen, he's going to pay us weekly, $250 a week till he pays off the 1,000. Can you give me the money to pay this guy? Because I don't got the, you know what I'm saying? So my guy would, work with me on that.
Well,
but I got to make sure.
For when you're on the hook.
When I'm on the hook.
When are you on the hook? We got to dig it out of your pocket to pay your guy. When are you on the hook?
Never.
I thought if you win, you hold on to 25%, right?
If I
But
win,
if they lose, you have
if
to
my players lose, I get 25%. If
correct.
my players win, I get no percentage, but I got to go to my guy to get that money to pay my players.
Oh.
See, a lot of times, if I
You
had,
think he got
say,
money when the people when the people win?
see, there were
You think they
times
got me
where
a percentage when they won? No.
I had 10 players, right, for the week. I'm just making it easier. And if my guys were, if three of my players, I have 5 players. 3 of my players lost 8,000. One guy has to get 6. All right, Vin, well, collect off the guys that owe you and pay the guy. Now, if
Correct.
the guys that owe me,
You're responsible for the credit. So
kind of, because now
sure.
if I have 2 customers and 3 customers, Jason, the Mohawk, and you. Okay, you lose 10,000. I have to pay the Mohawk and Jason 13. I might have to go to my guy. Listen, they're not paying me till Friday. We pay this guy every day on every Monday. Can you just give it to me until like now? Or if Jason comes up lame and says, "Ben, I can give you 3,000 this week. I got to carry you next week." I can't stall you.
Right.
So that's where it gets a little tricky. Now if you have a good relationship,
Who covers that spread? The local guy or the bookmaker?
If you have it, like if I have it,
you could
I'll
cover it. Yeah.
But if it's a lot of money, and you go to your guy and say, "Listen, can you, this guy can't pay. Can you pay?" And my guy always worked with me. He always was good.
See, Jason, I didn't want a quarter sheet after a while. You know what I wanted? The guy that went to Costa Rica, everything went hot in '99. They all went there. I said, I have 150 players. I said, I want 2% through the window. No red blacks, no nothing. If they bet 100,000 worth of action, I get $2,000. I don't care if they win or lose. If they give you that's what my commission. I want 2%. Whatever is bet through the window at the end of the week, I get 2%.
So you brought So you brought your players, okay, to the table, and whatever their action was,
I
win
got
or
2%.
lose, you got 2%. Okay. Where was the collection and responsibility?
Well, that was that was for that 2%. I'm also meeting a lot of my players. I had about 5 agents at one time where they would go around and I can't just go meet everybody, but it's a lot of work. People don't realize it's a lot of work. How many stories you get? I got to pay you 30 on Tuesday, and the guy that was supposed to give me 20 on Monday didn't give it. I'll see you Thursday. I can't hold you up. So you have to have. So like when we were moving games, we had a package here that they would give us. What are you going to fly back and forth to Vegas all the time? So we were sitting on about 150 that we had in a safe deposit box. And then we'd straighten out once a month. Can't fly there every week. So I'd go to Billy Walters' guy once a month. Maybe he had to give me 80. Maybe I had to give him 120. Back then, the airline didn't give a shit about that stuff. We flew late at night. It was easier. And that's the way that went. But early in the day, 25 red black was all they did. I am the one that told them I wanted 2%. I said, because what happens, I was dealing with guys who were betting 10,000 a game. If someone won 150,000, what am I going to wait 8 weeks to ever make money until my guys lose back $150,000?
Exactly.
If you got guys betting 30 times $150, you're not going to be in the hole for that long. But you got one guy that gets on a run and wins 150 during a weekend. I'll work the whole season and never get paid.
I got a dumb question. You guys are gonna laugh, but can a book, let's say like some guy's on a heater and like the Mohawks on a heater, and can a book just like, sorry, can't gamble with me anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a Steam player, my guy, we had an algorithm set up with the MIT guys. If a guy beat me to the line 5 times, I don't want him. He's a sharp player. I'll explain what it is. If you're betting, if Jason is betting in my islands, in my place, and there's a big move on a game, Jason bets at -6.5. A minute and a half later, that game went to 8. Jason took 14. That game went down to 12. If Jason happens to be on the right side every goddamn game, I don't want him. because Jason's a Sharpie. Now, you still could lose if you're sharp, but that means, like me,
I kind of know what it means, but what's it mean?
the MIT guys, I was thrown out of every bookmaker in Queens. No one wanted my action because I told the story on my channel. If you want to hear it quickly, when I came to Queens in 1990, got married, I hooked up with a social club. There were two partners. One guy was Philly, who was John Gotti's bookmaker in the day, and another guy, Bobby. They both deceased. Bobby was about 15 years younger than him. I start playing with Bobby, and Philly comes over to me and says, not for anything, but it's my club. I have a sheet too. It was a different office. I said, you don't want my action. He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, Phil, you don't want my action. I beat Phil for $60,000 the first week. He's crying, I'll never make another dollar because I said, Phil, I told you not to take my action. It's sharp action.
He paid you?
Yeah, but they didn't believe in the he paid me. They didn't believe in sharp guys, old Italian guys. They didn't give a shit.
What do you mean 60,000? That's nothing to a guy like him.
No, this wasn't a big bookmaker. This was he had a sheet. What Gotti bet with him, but he was a sheet guy. He was on a sheet. He wasn't the bookmaker.
Oh.
So he was on a sheet, and now he's not going to make money forever because his guys are betting $300 a game. He has 25 customers, and I just took them. So I go to a wake. And they used to call me Vinny Vegas. And I see this guy, Matty Castellano, who owned the world's fair marina at Shea Stadium. And he goes, I'm at the wake. And I see someone go like that. He goes, so you're Vinny Vegas. I said, who are you? He said, Matty, how you doing? And I heard of his name. I said, oh, what's up, man? And then he said, yeah, you're the one. He goes, Philly cries to me every day about my I said, oh, my God. I said, I was going to try to reach out to you. He said, can you do me a favor? I said, could you put his red black on the side and I'll work out something with you? Because he's a good guy. I told him not to take my action. So he said, yeah, I heard you do good with these games. I said, yeah, we're good. So he said, I'll tell you what, I'll put his stuff on the side if you give me one of the calls. So you give me the hot games. I said, I can't make you the first call. I said, but you'll have it 3 to 5 minutes before everybody else. I said, but they're going to chase you. These guys are good. And he settled with Philly a long time later. I don't know for how much, but he allowed Philly to earn. He put that on the side, that figure. It didn't impede him from earning. We'll worry about that at some other date.
Well, I'll keep going. I have a question.
And it was a shit show. But yeah, all the small bookmakers didn't want my action because you got to remember, bookmakers talk. And they said, like, this guy, and they'd ask, where am I getting these games? I'm not going to give, what am I going to say, the Kosher Connection? They don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You think an old Guinea, when I say, oh, the MIT guys, Kosher Connection, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, So I was dealing with offices that were mom and pop offices. They had walk-in people and stuff. And and some of them would take my action like a nickel, 500, just to get who I was going to bet. I'll take a nickel from you so they can go bet 2 dimes on it.
Hold on, I got a few questions to ask you. What was, during your tenure, what was the winning percentage of the Kosher Connection in your experience? Roughly.
Well, my guy now is 33-15.
No.
That's about 69.
No. You just basically gave me, you're giving out free picks from a guy that you know. I get it. I'm with you. In the time that actual money wagered for you representing and laying bets for the Kosher Connection, what was your rough winning percentage, roughly?
62%.
That's like ridiculous. Really?
Yeah.
So I have a question though.
Legitimately, I'm not kidding.
The Mohawk's taking book, right? And you're the Kosher Connection guy, and you bet X amount this way. Isn't a book supposed to lay off some of that action, so he limits his exposure?
Yeah, sure. But you got to remember, 62% because we were beating guys that were slow to draw. If we were betting into the real line, like if we were in Vegas betting those games, you'd probably back down to 56% now. But we're getting the best from all these offices. These back in the day in 90s, they didn't have Don Best on their computer screen to see the change exactly when you see it.
You took advantage. Basically, you guys were arbitrage.
Weak numbers.
You were doing arbitrage, basically.
Yes. Okay. Weak numbers, we bet into them.
I'm with you on that. And if Jason wants to jump in, he's welcome too. So you come in, you're the coach tradition guy, you're known to win, right? And all of a sudden you're 60-40 on your book, and there's a few hours left. Aren't you supposed to lay off the difference to another book and just make your vig? Or were they gamblers themselves?
No, we were moving games for them.
I'm talking the bookmakers. Jason, am I asking this right? Aren't the bookmakers supposed to lay off action when it's one-sided? Like, for example, if everybody's betting on one horse versus the other,
absolutely,
aren't they supposed to lay it off?
Yeah. Well, perfect example. You're a business guy. I'm a business guy. And Jason's a business guy. So and Joe too, but you're not going to ask everybody. So if we're up $18,000 for the week, I might go to you, Tom. Listen, we have $20,000 exposure today. Yeah. Let's whack up 15,000. We'll take 3 of it. So either we win 21, but let's lock in the 15,000. We're up 18 for the week. Let's not lose everything today. So let's lay off everything. We'll keep a $3,000. So we're interested today, but we're definitely whacking up 15 for the week, no matter what. Yeah. That's right, Jason. You understand that. That's what we would do. Some bookmakers are pigs. They're gamblers themselves. I'm up 25. I want to be up 45 this week. They'll book everything.
But I thought you were supposed to break even on the bets and make 10% off the vig if you want to sustain that business. But
if you're a guy that doesn't have a big business, what are you going to make? $400 a week? Yeah. If you're bringing in $5,000 a week worth of bets.
So
what's the vig on that? 10% is 500.
So the books are basically gambling themselves.
Most of them are gamblers. Yeah. See, I wasn't gambling. I was laying off for people getting 10% of whatever they won.
But then let me ask you this. This goes back to Meyer Lansky and Luciano. I don't know if you know this, but prior to Costa Rica, there were wire rooms. So the mob necessarily, you didn't have to be a mob bookie, but they controlled the wire. They essentially controlled the action. There has to be people bankrolling these Costa Rica casinos, and these have to be in the hundreds of millions. Who bankrolls that?
Mo Green.
No, I'm serious. Who bankrolls that? Now, the Mohawk? I mean, who bankrolls that?
The Mohawk, probably. No, wise guys. Well, you got to remember, if you have 300 customers, okay, generally speaking, if they're not sharp guys, you're not losing. How are you really losing? If I got 300 customers betting me every day and they're capped, the guy can't just bet $200,000 on a game. If they're capped, how much are you really going to lose?
Hey, we're gonna start the Mohawk gambling ring.
Well, here's the thing, Tom. Right? You said this best. What happened in Las Vegas from like the late '80s to now?
That's what growth for casinos.
Growth, yeah. So what do you think? People won? No, they lose.
I got it. So they're betting on that in the long run, right? Now, do we know? You know how, for example, you go to blackjack. There's a 2% holdback. I think slot machines have a 2.5% holdback. Is there a natural holdback across all gamblers?
Horse racing, there is.
What, Jason?
Horse racing is 17% taken off every bet.
17 out of the pari-mutuel for expense, so you're not getting the real odds. Yet 17% is getting whacked out of your bet.
17% right off the top. You make a bet, 17.
Yeah.
Do we
bet
know
$17 cents? You bet $1.17 goes right off the top.
Do we know the what the average holdback across all gambling skill level, or no? We don't.
Well, craps is 1.5 if you play right. Full
but is there one for bookmaking? Is there an assumption for bookmaking?
I don't think so.
No. Jeff would know what I'm talking about. Jeff, is there a natural holdback for gamblers across all spectrum, not sharps, not intermediate, but all gamblers? Here's my next question. We definitely have 300 guys lined up. The average credit for them is $1,000, right? So we need 3 million, right? If everybody wins, but they don't.
Right.
How much you think the wise guy has out there in anticipation for cash flow and cash management for 300 guys that have roughly $3 million in quote unquote credit? How much does a wise guy need to have available in order to service that action.
25%.
That's it. So that means guys really lose.
Yeah.
How much do you account for bad debt? Meaning some guys are just going to beat you. Some guy's going to run to the Fed. Some guy has an FBI brother. Of those percentage, what else do you assume for bad debt?
25%. Probably, right, Jason?
Yep.
Interesting. Can you be a bookie today and take decent action and not have a wise guy knock on your door in the tri-state area?
No.
Jersey.
Eventually.
Vinny, Jersey, I don't know, Vinny. I mean, again, Jersey and New York are different. We're a little more spread out over here, right? Yeah, Jersey.
I think if you were taking in $200,000 worth of action a week, whether we're in a bar or something, someone finds out about you.
But
someone
then,
does.
Right.
And then they walk in who you
again,
with.
So
That's
here's
what they say.
so here's my question, Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
I open up an operation, and I have I got let's say I got 100 players.
Right.
Who nowadays is going to come to me, and I'm in Jersey. Who's going to come to me? What are they going to say that's going to make me say, "Oh, let me pay this guy"? What are they? What?
If you have a
run
good
an operation?
business?
No, I don't run an operation. Like back in the day, I get it. I'm talking about 2021. What are they going to say?
Well, it happened to one of my friends who owned the bar where he used to take action on Saturdays and Sundays, horse racing. And someone came in and said, "Oh, who you with?" And he said, what do you mean? He goes, "Well, who you with?" And he gave me a call, actually. And I said, "Who is he?" And I said, "Well, all right, tell him to bring his guy down." And I called my friend, and we were sitting in the back, and my friend said, "He's with me." And he said, okay. But my friend understood why he did it. That's how people make money.
But if he wasn't, now tell me the next step.
Yeah.
They'll say, well, if you really to operate here, I'm not talking about taking $2 win in place with 5 guys sitting at your bar that are 80 years old. I'm talking about guys that are betting 300 and 300. You're bringing in 30,000 a weekend. Then they'll say, listen, there's a guy in this area, and you really can't. You're from the area. You should know. You don't just do this.
Gotcha.
Now they're not going to charge you back tax. Say, well, how long have you been doing it? 3 years. You owe me 150 large. But they'll say, listen, we'll be fair with you. And if anybody doesn't pay you, but if they don't pay you, then the guy will say, I don't give credit anyway, because you don't want that exposure. But yeah, so he might want 200 a week. Well, it depends who it is.
That's my question. What does a guy ask for? How do they negotiate and estimate that amount? And what services do you get by having the broken nose guy come visit every week? Like, what are you paying for? Because
probably a couple hundred a week, 200-300 a week, if it's not a big thing. And that if someone else walks in here and says who you're with, like it just happened to you now, you're with me. So no one can bother you now. And because eventually, if I heard about you, someone else is going to hear about you.
Will they help collect debts?
Yeah.
Do they charge extra for that?
Well, they'll take a piece of it, sure. If someone goes to a table and if I'm owed 20,000, the 2 wise guys are going to whack up 7,000 a piece. I'm probably getting $6,000. That's
I
if I'm
pay
lucky.
for protection, and then when you get it from me, they'll whack it up and give you the net. Because I would think that's what insurance.
They're hungry.
Is, right?
They're hungry.
Why not? So this is where but this is where the NBA armchair NBA comes in. Rather than the $200 a week, right? All right, Jeff, you got a jet. We're gonna wrap up soon anyway.
I just got to do something for 1 minute.
So I dropped the link. We're gonna probably be on for another 10 minutes. Do you want to say bye now, or do you think you'll be back?
I'll be back in a minute.
All right, cool. All right. So hold on. How do I hide? Give me a second, guys. I don't know how to hide. Banned from studio, kicked from studio. I don't know how to put him in timeout. Give me a second. I'm removed from the stream. Oops. Okay, he's on the stream. Got it. Okay. Guys, I'm newer. I'm a Zoom guy. Okay. So he pays you every week, collecting. I get all that. Why doesn't the mom go to them and say, listen, right? Listen. I'm going to actually ask this to Tommy, too. Hey, Tommy, welcome.
Hey, Tom.
All right, I got a question.
Am I in here?
Yeah, you are.
How are you, my friend?
Welcome, buddy.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
What's up,
I
Tom?
can't hear you guys too good. I'm on a tablet.
Can you hear us now? The rain in Spain falls
I wonder
mainly
why.
on the plane.
I'm in the show. It says,
We see you.
We see you.
I know you can see me, but I can't really hear you guys.
I have my iPad, and that's why I have these on. The tablets and iPads, when you're using StreamYard
Tommy,
and
go,
stuff.
Tommy, go,
that's
go
why I have
out and
this
come
on.
back in, Tommy.
I'm
Go
going
out.
to go to
come
my
back in.
laptop. I'll log back in, guys.
Okay.
So let me ask the question of, instead of the mob trying to get the $200 or $300 a week, why don't they go to them and say, who's your back end? Who are you using for these bets, right? And almost force them to use the Costa Rican back end where the real money is. You get what I'm saying? Like, why are they going after they're stepping over the nickels for dollars? So why do I go to Vinny? You know what? Here's your option. You got two options. One, you're out of business. Or two, here's your link, your deep net link or deep link. Here's your login. Here's your password. You're going to put everything through here, and that's it. Like,
Because the old guys in the bar that are having beers, they're watching the races. They're not going to call.
no,
Costa
the
Rica.
bookmaker. I understand bookmakers even to this day that take book over the phone, go to this computer and have
Right.
links that are the back end, and you don't have to deal with the finances. You don't got to deal with a lot of the stuff, and the
Right.
mob kind of controls all that. Why wouldn't the mob steer them towards using them to their back end? I kind of never understood that.
Well, a bar that's just taking horse bets, you're not going to steal them.
look at bigger books.
Oh, bigger. Oh, they do.
Okay.
They do. Because figure it this way. If me and Jason and you want to open up, say we have 100 customers, right? We have to have a place to rent. That's $2 a month. We have to have 3 clerks a day that we're paying 100, 300 a day. We're paying 8,000 in clerks for the month. So now our expenses are 10,000 already without phone, without anything else. I could put 100 players in the islands for $20 each.
Yeah, well, that's my point.
Right. And I get no stealing. They don't know the bookmaker that can write a ticket.
In the islands for $20
And if you're answering here, you're taking a chance of them knocking down your door.
Got it.
You know, so Costa Rica, they smartened up. That's the way they
Well,
went.
that's my point. Tommy, I'm going to put you on hold and see if there's an echo. Can you hear
I'm
me?
not hearing you right.
down your door.
Okay, I'm going to put you on mute. I think you might be playing the stream on another tab. Close that out, and then I'll go. You're ready? It's okay. Ready? Get better now? Oh, he's in. Okay. No, but okay. So, but that's my point. Like, I would make all bookmakers go through that back end instead of collecting the weekly vig. I think the weekly vig is peanuts, to be honest with you. Just my opinion. Next,
I agree.
are there certain families that are a little bit more up and up, a little bit more like, I know the Genovese had a good back end on Costa Rica. I know the Gambinos did. Are there certain families that have a leg up on that back end Costa Rica over other families?
Yeah.
Vinny, you better? Tommy, better?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so I'll Vinny answer that first, and then Tommy. So Vinny, the question was, do certain families have a little bit more of a market share in the back end Costa Rican digital racket than others? I mean, like the Cavalcantes have no presence. They actually go to the Genovese. So give me the families in your Brooklyn guy first that have more of a market share in that space, and then I'll have Tommy jump in.
Genovese, very big in gambling.
Yeah,
They control a lot of the back end.
I would say, yeah.
Would a family ever, for example, with the Cavalcantes or a smaller family, use the Genovese as the back end blindly to the customer? The customer doesn't know, right? But will they go to like Brooklyn guy who's with the Genovese on the back end and be like, hey, I need a link, I need a code, I'll use your back end because I really don't have no back end infrastructure, and they'll use it in other families, or is it all within the same family?
A lot of time they work together. I mean, it's a business. So I'm not that familiar with how things work in the Costa Rica wire rooms. Once I was out of the game before that all came into play.
Okay.
But it's a business like any other business, like a stock house or something like that.
Mhm.
It's a central location. There's player fees. So every bookmaker or every agent has say 10 players. They got to pay a player fee per player. It's like $35 a player.
Oh,
And
for the
they
back,
are
for the way to
responsible
use the
for
back
player
end.
fee.
Yeah.
Well, this place is at a 20,
Yeah.
22.
So your crime family your crime family may own that office in Costa Rica,
Right.
and somebody else's, family may run business through there.
So you
It's
can
not
make
that
good money. If you got like 50,000 players at $22 each, they're making money up to player fees.
making money, but with the ratios, you're going to make money bookmaking no matter how it works out. There's not many guys that could call it like Vinny calls it. There's not many guys can have that ratio, that percentage of winning.
Jeff, sorry, go ahead.
All your costs and everything that goes along with it is able to survive off of the losses.
Right.
Rent, player fees, everything. There's that much loss involved. Now, you guys were talking about when somebody goes bad, do your people have your back? Yeah, sometimes they do. They should most of the time. A decent bookmaker will be able to cover that loss, maybe, if he banks it, unless he's a gambler himself. I never bet $1 in my life, so I was always
Right.
able to cover whatever happened. But when they lose that bad, so it depends on the situation. You can end up with a sit down. You can end up making a deal. You can end up, okay, 40,000 turns into 10. Give me 300 a week. There's all kinds of deals that it's case by case basis. Such and such knows such and such. It's my cousins, nephews, friends, brothers. Can you do something for him? It can get ugly because you end up with a lot of exposure. When somebody goes bad on their losses for the week, you got to sit down. Now you're risking everybody being exposed because of this Mama Luke that has to have a sit down for 10. Now we all got to meet in one place and there's cameras there.
What about have you guys ever heard of stories that like a made guy, forget about a made guy, a serious guy, a captain, somebody just doesn't want to pay a bookie. Like, you know what? Fuck you. I am who I am, and stiff the bookie. Have you ever heard of that? And if so, what was the case?
It can be a tough situation. It does happen. Never happened to me, but it can happen.
Vinny?
It does happen.
One
other thing I wanted to touch on that was very important when you guys said what happens when somebody loses and they can't pay this, that, the other thing. Sometimes, you go after the guy, but for a bookmaker, that sometimes is a dream for them because that turns that bookmaker into right. Now you got that guy lost 4,000. Now you got 4,000 on the street with that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The juice is not that much every week for him, but it can add up for you if you're the bookmaker. That's where, and that gets. It can be good. It could be bad. It's a crazy business.
Got it, Jason.
Tommy will also tell you if a guy has lost and lost and lost. If me and Tommy are book BMs and the guy's lost 25,000 in the football season already, and now he can't pay us $5. We're a lot nicer than a guy that has beat us up for 25, and all of a sudden the first losing week, I don't have it.
Well, that's
Would you agree, Tommy?
Well, that burns your ass when that happens.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
But the problem is we're dealing with degenerates. I don't want to call anybody a degenerate.
Well, I agree.
We're dealing with degenerates. So they're going to lose 20,000 to you. They're burnt out of your office. Now they're going to come to Tommy's office. Now they're going to go to Tom's. They're going to move to office. But in an area like this over here, you kind of get to know they can't. There's nowhere for them to go unless they go from Belleville to Brooklyn, where they're not going to know anybody. It's a crazy game, man.
Tommy, I always wondered if someone asked me, they come in at 42. Oh, do you know someone I like? Why are you looking for me at 42? Most guys have a bookmaker for 100 years. If you're looking for me, you owe someone else money.
That's right. You didn't just start gambling today at 42.
Right. But they think that they have and the thing is, Tom, and you know this, if you're a bookmaker, you stiff one guy, you're out of business. If you're a player, you could beat 100 guys and you can still go around and beat 100 more.
That's why I made it my business to pay on Mondays, regardless of what I was going to collect or not collect. But remember, I was not a gambler.
Right. So you had the
As a
in your
business,
kitty.
so yeah.
In your kick, you had the money. You weren't gambling it. Yeah.
Tried to. I was close to it anyway.
So, Jason, if you're comfortable, or Mohawk, if you're comfortable, can you tell? No names.
I
you
can't
tell that
ever
one
give-
story. No, but Jason, can you tell that one story you told me about the guy didn't pay and then they collected it and 25%?
Yep.
I'll give one word: the diner guy.
Oh yeah. So, kid loses 10 grand. His father was an accountant, made a lot of money, and his father was a gambler. His brother was a gambler. Anyway, my guy loses 10 grand. Ghost. I'm going to his house. I'm like, oh my God, I got to pay my guy now. My guy's, this ain't the fucking Boy Scouts. Where's my fucking money? Okay, here we go. So now, oh my God, right? So I'm trying to find this guy. Finally, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I give my guy the book. I says, here's the guy's address. I said, I'll go with you. I'm not trying to beat you here. So let's go, whatever. Long story short, the father gets involved because his father has the money. Go meet at the diner. And my guy gets his 10 grand. Okay. So my guy don't give me my percentage, my 25%. He still got his 10 grand. He don't give me my 25%. I guess his thinking was, oh, I had to get involved. So screw your 25%. All right. Okay. I mean, I gave you the guy's address. You got your money. I was involved in the whole situation. Okay, you got 20. So I ended up losing 1 week $2,500.
I like this.
And I said, that's my money. I'm not paying you. And I still continued to play with him. I still continued. He says, he laughed, he chuckled, but I didn't pay him the $2,500.
So really quick, you got a Jersey guy and a New York guy. I'd like for you both to answer. Start off with Tommy. Was that like a wise guy move that was done, or was that a scumbag move? Like
the douchebag move. That's a douchebag move.
Douchebag move.
That's greed, man. I hate
to not give me my 25%, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you get it, man. You're supposed to get it. You're bringing in more and more and more anyway. They're making it.
Right.
That makes me sick. Ugh.
But when I lost, I didn't pay him my loss 1 or 2 weeks or whatever. Whatever.
I have another stupid question. This is for all three, and Rob can answer as well, who's in the chat. Is gambling, illegal gambling, it's still like $1 billion industry. Loan shark is even more. There's not enough like juice for the squeeze for the mob to be like, you know what, we don't want hard time. We don't want problems. You know what? Why don't we just lock up? I'm talking lock up the illegal gambling, lock up the legal loan sharking. I'm talking like knock everybody in the box, all of our resources, all of our guys, all of our efforts, all of our everything. Why is there enough juice on the bone or meat on the bone for the mob to just do that and nothing else?
Well, in a different time, maybe. In this day and age, like I said in the other time I was on, the things that people are thirsty for today, the good life, it's tough, man. People aren't humble anymore, so they're not going to be content with a little less. There's money in other things, so I don't know. It's lucrative.
Absolutely right.
But today,
there's not enough to maintain a brigada just off the gambling. If you went deeper into it, Vinny,
I don't know.
No, the gambling's not enough.
No.
If gambling was enough, it's not a bad charge. They do it.
All right.
No.
Then next question. So you had during Prohibition made the mob of the U.S. Let's call it what it is. And then Luciano and Lansky were smart enough to organize around it. Right? So with that being said, prior to and after, they had distilleries that became legal distilleries. They had routes that became legal routes. Like guys became multimillionaires overnight when Prohibition became legal, not illegal. Why does the mob anticipate that it was going to be legal? Why didn't they invest take their cash and their winnings, clean it, invest in the marketing, invest in the apps, invest in the licenses, and invest in the infrastructure for the legal gambling so they would own that just like they did Prohibition and alcohol? And I'm talking the big guys, not like a local street guy, but like the big captains, the the guys that have millions, why don't they take that and why don't they own the legal gambling space? Is it too sophisticated? I want to hear from Vinny and Joe and even Mohawk on that one.
I think that you had very few bosses that had the foresight. Paul Castellano was one. That because you're a boss doesn't mean you have the foresight for the end game. You may be good in today, but you're not looking 10 years from now because you're probably thinking you'll be in jail 10 years from now. So it's not going to matter for you. Very few guys have the vision of what it will be like in 3 years. They want it now because their life expectancy, whether it be jail or whatever, is 10 years. They don't even look at 10 years from now. It's not like building a business.
But really quick, though, and this was always my problem with how LCN is structured in the U.S., right? Like in any big corporation, in Dragara, Camorra, even the Sicilian Mafia, the head signs up the strategy, right? Here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to do it, and here's our rackets. In the mob, it's bottom up. So if somebody's making money on this, they do this. Somebody's making money on that, they do that, which is tactical, but it's not strategic. You're trying to tell me that the head of the five families, Detroit, Chicago, didn't see legal weed coming, didn't see legal gambling coming, didn't see legal prostitution in parts of the United States. Why didn't they corral around it? I'm gonna Vinny why he thinks.
I'll tell you why.
Vinny,
Because how many 25-year-olds didn't save enough really bright guys, put money away so they'd have a future? Because you don't worry about it.
Forget 25 though, Vin. I mean, Tom has a point here. Vin, why, if you're making $100,000 operation a week, if I'm your captain, I'm going to you. All right, pal, you're making $100,000 a week. Great. Here's what I want you to do. See that coffee shop? You see that restaurant? What do you like to do? You see that construction, company? Go buy something. Let's do something with this money. Yeah, we got our gambling coming in. I just don't understand. And excuse me if this is being rude. How stupid are you? You brought in $60,000 this fucking week. How do you not go out and buy a fucking hot dog truck?
Yep.
How do you know they didn't get involved?
Huh?
No,
How
a lot
do
of
you know
guys
they
did.
didn't get involved?
A lot of guys did it. No.
Because you think that John Gotti would have been able to put his name on something legal?
No.
What would have happened to that business if he said,
This guy opened up.
He's got sisters. He's got children.
He's got guys
and how do you
around
know
him.
they're not involved?
Every Italian landscaper in New Jersey that got 50 trucks, you're going to assume he's got Ugats in his name. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this mentality is either going to be there or not be there. That's
how do you know they're not involved in something?
Joe, I still don't get that. Why do the guys at Barstool Sports know that gambling was coming, but fucking the Chin didn't? That makes no sense to me. It makes zero sense.
It's just in the nature of it's the nature. It's in the nature. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's so hard to say. It makes so much sense.
How about legal weed? Okay,
it makes so much sense.
When they stopped growing the skunk in Mexico, and they started growing in what is it called in California. You don't need 100 guys. You just need the power of force. You send 5 guys. You send a captain. You send a crew to do me a favor. In 3 years, I want you to control the weed market. Well, there's probably 5 growers that you need to control. Like I can't.
It makes so much sense.
Lack of foresight.
You're right,
Vinny.
It is.
Yeah.
You're right. It is. It's a lack of foresight.
Vinny.
Yeah.
Tell me right now. You brought in 100,000. You and your partners. What the fuck did you guys do? Oh, let's put it in our fucking the shoebox underneath the bed.
Unfortunately,
Really, Vinny?
Many guys in that life.
Really?
Crazy.
Okay, let's do this. Vinny and Joe specifically. Give me 1 or 2 guys that got that other than Castellano, that got that went.
That got what?
That got generational wealth. Put the money into legal means.
Okay, Tommy, who's Philip Bramo?
Wall Street guy, yes, the Cavalcantes.
Okay, what did he get involved with?
Sal Romano and
Robert Lino, what was he involved with?
I thought drugs.
No.
Construction, right?
No, he was involved on Wall Street.
Oh, Robert,
these guys are all involved, man. Telecommunications, they're just not. They're all getting a piece of it.
Sonny Francis. Sonny Francis was into
No, but
acting.
They're all getting a piece of it. I'm in Vegas. Trust me, I know who was controlling those rooms out there. All that shit, that telemarketing shit, they were all involved in
I'll
that.
give you one, though. I'll give you one. Joseph Profaci, right? Got out, Cola Vita, the great-grandchildren are living off of generic olive oil that I wouldn't use on my worst enemy. That's what I'm trying to get at. Who had the foresight? That guy Staluppi, the guy who's hooked up with the president from the Columbus. Like, there's certain guys that had the vision. Who were those? I want a few more because I want to wrap my head around it.
But then you got to look at it this way. What is the intelligence of some of these guys?
Exactly. It's not the average.
They're not
guy.
brain surgeons.
Right.
If you're a smart guy, Tom, like you are, you don't get into the mob. You go into business.
Right.
But if you're not so smart and you're tough.
Okay, watch. And let's just say this. All 5 guys on this channel, right? We're probably not the brightest bulbs in the shed, but we're far from stupid. And we all probably did above average versus our peers, right? Why didn't the mob go to guys like us? We're not tough guys. At least I'm not, right? You're a money maker. You know how to make money. You know what? You know this internet stuff. You know this digital stuff. We're going to protect you if you get into any trouble. We're going to give you this, this, and this. And here's our fee for our services. I would do it in a second if it kept me like. Now, again, I would deal with one guy, nobody else. I make them a fuck ton of money. I make a fuck ton of money. And if something happens, I go zero.
It's a question you can't answer, though. Why did Sammy Gravano get out of jail, go to Arizona, and become a drug dealer? He had millions. He wouldn't have had millions of dollars he was sitting on. Why did he do that? It's a mental defect. You can't answer that question because
very hard, man.
You're trying to ask a logical question to people who are not logical.
So why?
That's a good answer.
The organization is
That's a good answer.
An organization, I don't care which organization it is. I'd like to hear Rob's opinion as well. Rob's a friend.
True.
It's organizational mindset, leadership, and more importantly, the people, right? The people, right? The Genovese always has strong leadership, and they make the best guys. That's why they're strong. At the end of the day, they make the right guys who understand the culture of the organization. I still don't get, did the other Borgatas make the wrong guys? Did they have the wrong strategy? That's what I
John Gotti's hero growing up was Albert Anastasia.
The Mad Hatter.
Know what he was known for? Burying people. Okay, he wasn't. So, you got to look at it that way too. John Gotti, in his mind, he didn't want to do legal things. He didn't want to be involved. He wanted to be a criminal.
You know the real reason why he got killed, or the excuse he got killed before Cola took over? He wanted his hands in the casinos in Cuba. That's why he got killed. Sano Traficante was that powerful that he backdoored him with Carlos Marcello and Carlo Gambino and said, this guy's got to go. He's too greedy. The Fox outplayed Albert, and that's why he got killed. But here's my point. Sano Traficante, Carlos Marcello, fucking Carlo Gambino afterwards. They had the foresight to set up in Cuba. It didn't work out. What do? They're nimble. They went out to Vegas. That's my point. There's opportunities now that are bigger than back then. If you had $400 in cryptocurrency and you bought a few thousand worth, you would have a few $100 million right now. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'll give you the example. You have, and we'll use our culture. You have Italian landscapers who worked 18 hours a day for 50 years, and they left their kids 3 houses.
Yeah.
Because they had the foresight, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. You have other Italian Americans who only own their house while they saw family members buying houses that were their age. Why didn't they do it?
Yeah, but I'm just
it's because some mentality is just close to the vest.
I'm give you my representation of the Italian culture. I think there's 2 sides of it. One side was the entrepreneur, because they had to be. The landscaper with 50 trucks.
Right.
The guy with the hot dog cart, he's got 4 hot dog carts. He has a restaurant, Salomeria, like butcher shops. Guys that had to be, like, had to do something. They weren't entrepreneurs. They had to do it, or they don't eat. They don't speak the language, right? So you got those guys, right? Then you had a subset of guys that, decided to be blue collar. Hey, I'm going to get a good union. I'm going to get a respectable trade. I'm going to make good money for their family as well. You get what I'm saying? So there is the tactical and there's the strategic by nature. I'm just surprised that the mob wasn't more strategic by nature.
Joe answered it perfectly when Joe said, go watch in the Gravano movie when Amon Asante says, you think I got my button to be some straight-A businessman? Get the fuck out of here. These guys want to be gangsters, Tom.
Yeah, my stepdad,
they don't want to be businessmen.
You want to
they
know
want
how
to be
fucked up
gangsters.
he was, Phil? He would, if he had $1,000 in his pocket and he wanted a pack of cigarettes, okay? He would say, fuck it. I'm taking this pack of cigarettes. I ain't paying for this shit. Yeah. And he's got the money.
They wanted to be gangsters,
not rational people. Someone with $1,000 in his pocket would say, sure, I'm going to buy a pack of cigarettes. No, man, he'd rather steal it.
Get over on him, yeah.
I got you on that, right? So now you're ahead of a regatta in 2021. You have 100 people with their buttons. You have roughly 400 associates. We need the knuckle draggers. We need the guy who doesn't want to pay. But use that guy for not to steal cigarettes, to enforce the rules, right? When the rules are enforced, people obey. And even in what's his name says it, Francis. And I think the same holds true today. 20 of the guys probably make up for 80% of the money. We need to protect those earners. We need to cultivate those earners. And then the knuckle draggers, if you will, or the capable guys, let them be capable. If there
Did you ever ask John this question? Did you ever say, John, you had access to money, right? Because when he got straightened out, you can get money from people, let's say, right? Why didn't he say, I need 100,000 to start a car wash or whatever it is? Why didn't he go into these businesses?
I never asked him that.
I did.
Okay.
I did. When I had to sit down with John, when I first met John, I sit down, that not an actual sit down. It was something that Tom did with John and the subscribers. And I said, John, when you get made, you can go to a guy and say, hey, listen, I want to start up a loan target operation. I want to start up the gambling. He says, no, it's not. He said, for him, he said, it's not like that. You can't go down the street and say, hey, can I have 100,000? Then I hear from other guys like, who was the Genovese guy from?
No, you're going to have to pay for the money you borrow. They're not going to give it to you free, but you're going to get it a lot cheaper than the guy on the street will get it for.
A wise guy loan, it's a half a point a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to pay something. Nothing's free.
It depends who you get it from. If you get it from an upper guy, maybe a captain, you're going to get at a point. If you get it from a guy a little lower down, you're going to get it at 3 points. You got to push it at 5. It all depends. And as far as wise guys who earn money dumping it into legitimate businesses, you can't get them to part with money. They want money coming in. That's it. They don't trust going into any business.
Yeah.
For the most part.
That's true.
Most of the people's mindset in this game, in that game, are that of, I got to grab more. They're hesitant to put $40,000 into a hot dog cart, even though it's guaranteed to bring you money. It's not quick money. It's not money now. And a lot of guys in that life, it's short-lived. So they're living for the moment.
And John
they don't have the capacity to even think that deep.
Right.
And
they want their money liquid too.
Documentary said my father was like, look at this guy. He's saving money. What is he going to do with that money? You understand what I'm saying? He was like, what is he going to do with that money? He's going to be dead or in jail. So
Tommy, they want their money liquid. They know a $50,000 lawyer tomorrow. They want their money liquid.
I'll give you an example. And my family was as Italian and as blue collar as the days long, right? So my sister and her husband have kids. One became a doctor. My other sister has 2 kids. They both, went to university. One's going for a master's. One's a sales professional doing a great job. One has her own business, a barber shop. I'm going to share with my kids whether they want to go to school or they want to be an entrepreneur. Either way, I'll support them. Like, why did the mobster say, you know what? I want you in the life in terms of go be a lawyer, be a criminal defense attorney. Go be an accountant to help us hide them. Like in Dragara, the Calabrians do this. The Contrera Caruana, they like, when you're born, you have to marry this one other family, and then you got to go to like New Zealand to set up an offshore account. Like, I just don't understand that the Italian Americans got it, where we kind of advanced the culture. Why didn't that happen to them up?
It's cultural, not cultural in our nationality. It's cultural. There's two cultures within our nationality.
Bingo.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
That's what it is, and that's the problem. Now, some guys are in it and don't want their kids in it at all, and that's fantastic. And some guys are in it and bring their kids in it, and that's horrible. But that's it. We have a mixed culture within our culture, so
Agreed.
what it is.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. That's we have our same traditions, but we have mixed cultures.
These street guys, they're wired different. They're dealing with a whole different, in their head, it's just completely wired different.
Well, I think, Joe, I think they want their money liquid because they know
Yeah.
they could need money for a lawyer tomorrow. They
You're
don't look at, I think it's liquidity with wise guys. What are you bringing in? What are you bringing in? They want to see cash.
More and more. and more.
By the way, I'm very excited. My book came in, The Olive Branch, 36 Rules of the Bosses. This is RJ's book from the Black Can Print Mafia. I just ordered from Amazon. You know what? I'm going to read it. I assume it's going to be good. Maybe we could do a 4 Horsemen plus the Mohawk and Tommy and do a nice little book club on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, did you get that? So that's our culture, Tom. That's our we have a mix within our culture. It's all fantastic. I mean, you got to say we have the best culture that there is, right?
Hey, Tommy,
Hey, forget it.
Tommy, Vinny.
Yeah.
You'll be picking up trolls in no time, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy, you got sons? You got a son?
One son and one daughter. Yeah.
Okay, Vinny, I know you have a son, Vinny.
Son, yeah.
If your sons got involved the way you guys got involved, not you guys weren't made men, but got involved the way you guys got involved.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel? What would you do? I mean, your sons, if you're being that your sons are grown men, they're in their 20s. What would you do? How would you feel? And again, they got involved the way you did. They didn't. They weren't a made man. They weren't a gangster. They were on the outskirts, but they did what you guys did. How would you feel, Tommy? Go first.
I would be very disappointed. I know as a man, he can probably survive it and get through it and live with it, as I did. I was in a cage for however long I was in jail for. And, I just think that I would be disappointed. But I think they have more intelligence and they will be able to take it to another level.
Vinny?
305K we should do a show on the wiretaps of these wise guys, and that will give you, like, if we took the Gotti tapes and you read the wiretaps, it'll give you an understanding of what you're dealing with.
Oh, the Cavalcante tapes. I read the book in its raw form. Oh,
right.
man.
So could you imagine what, God is a bleepity bleep fag? I mean, come on. It's like,
Vinny.
So really quick.
Hold on, wait. I want to finish my point here with Vinny. Vinny, go ahead.
I would talk to him the best I could. He's an adult. He's 26. So, he'll lie through his teeth that he's not doing anything to me, but no, I would. Oh my God, I'd be crushed if
you'd be crushed.
Anything with absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but here's my point though. The generation that came after, there's a class of 57, the class of 75, maybe the class of 95, whatever it is, right? If you were the father and you don't want to get him in that life, why didn't you try to make it a more palatable life? Meaning, like, look at mobsters, like, what is that? That Patsy Conti, right? They own like all the supermarkets and all that kind of stuff. He probably had his kid involved, supposedly, allegedly, because they're because he built a big business. So if he gets involved, great. But if he doesn't, he still has something. So what I'm getting at is, why didn't that next generation of mobsters make it more business-like, make it more palatable, and make it more, accepting to get their son in, to make it an honored society again? Because that's the part I don't get. Because you're like, I don't want him getting that life. It's too treacherous. Well, you guys made it treacherous, right?
But it was never honored. They were killing each other since the beginning of time. They call it the honored society, this, that, the other thing, but they're still killing each other and betraying each other. And you know it going in that you're betraying each other.
Yeah.
You can't make it better. You can't. It's just you're dealing with the bottom of the barrel. The gene pool is not good.
You know Joe Villaro? Did you ever hear the story of him? He's a rat.
He
Yeah.
screwed
So
Frank Howell,
basically,
right?
he was in jail with Nick Carrazzo, and like Nick Carrazzo said, look, when you get out of jail, don't do anything illegal. And this Joe Villaro had a trucking company on Staten Island.
Yeah.
And his wife had a Doc's Clam House or whatever. And they made legitimate money. Why was he caught in his truck on Highland Boulevard with like a half a key of cocaine in the car?
Yeah.
That's a whole other situation. I can't.
But
even
what I'm saying is, why would you be selling drugs if you own a trucking company and your wife has a successful business?
Greed.
They're wired different and they want that fast money. You said, it's quick money. Getting into a business might not be quick money. It might be a slower grind.
Because we work in the hustle. You're working in the
Right.
hustle. If you're a bookmaker, you're working in the hustle. It's what you know. You just keep on going and going and going. And being in business is not a hustle. And although it makes sense to do it, and it should be done, it's typically not done. You might have a small percentage of guys that think that's smart, Tom.
Well, let me ask a question. I think we can agree that things might have been somewhat different if Castellano filled out his reign, picked a successor, and gravitated more towards business in Wall Street, right? But here's my question though: there were a lot of captains and guys under him that were still alive after. Were the rank and file guys, did a lot of the guys keep that same thread, or did it gravitate more back to the streets because of Gotti? I would say Giddy would probably be the best answer to that.
That's a tough one.
I think it became more street when John Gotti took over. More in your face. A lot of those little expressions that were in the movie. I remember the first one wasn't very factual, but in your face, Cosa Nostra. That's what he wanted. He was a gangster. He wasn't a businessman.
But he didn't pull more. But he didn't pull more out of the guys on the street. Typically, maybe in business, in the construction stuff and stuff like that. But bookmakers are 30%, 25% hit. Oh, none of that shit changed. It still was there, and enough to go around. So he didn't tax.
No, Sammy built the construction business.
Yeah. I'm saying in general, but they didn't hurt anybody else on the street. Castellano to Gotti didn't change the regular bookmaker in Belleville.
That's my question. Like, I'm giving an analogy of a player's coach, meaning Gotti was more of a player's coach and more of a wise guy, right? Which guy was a business guy. Did wise guys benefit short term when Gotti took over? Maybe less of a kick, maybe a little more flexibility, maybe allowed to deal a little drugs. What do we know? What changed for wise guys after the Gotti regime came over to the gangster side of things?
I think a lot of people did better. I got to be honest with you. I can't say I was 100% affiliated with them as I was on my own. I didn't really belong to anybody, but I benefited from them when I needed to work, and they put me to work, and they weren't greedy, and they paid me when I worked, and I'm talking about legit work. A lot of good things came down the way when JG took over. I mean, I'm not going to say it was all negative. He did bring down a lot of it, obviously, but the greed was a little bit less, I got to say, I think.
Yeah, Castellano he wasn't for the underdog. It was Reverend Me, and his guys were starving under him.
It's a dictatorship, though. That's how it is with these guys. I mean, it's not like, but I don't know about Sammy building the construction business, though. That's a very big statement. I think I stepped into it at the right time. Building it.
I can't reveal who he is, but he's an insider. I'll give him that. Rob.
Hey, Tommy.
What?
Tommy, I watched your show with Tom. It was a great show.
Thanks.
What is it public knowledge? I don't answer if you can't. What family you reported to?
Nothing public. No.
Gotcha.
Current. I'm convicted of it, but I never gave any testimony, never any information. So I kind of.
Oh, so it's not knowledge on what family you ran with.
No,
Vinny, what about you? Is
Smart
it
move,
knowledge?
Tommy.
No way.
Was it what?
Is it public knowledge on what family you dealt with? I mean, you seem to be open about everything.
People could have figured it out if they read the arrest thing. But
Yeah, I wouldn't.
What family you dealt with? Yeah.
Well, hold on, Tommy.
Yes,
Mohawk ever try to shake you down?
never.
Hey, Tommy. Tommy. All right. Let me ask you a general question.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I'm in Jersey.
Rob, be nice. Rob goes, he was with the Ronzonis. Come on,
Yeah.
Rob.
Tommy.
That's great.
I don't mean to laugh, Tom. Oh, here's what's funny. If you laugh at something,
You gotta laugh.
joke about you, you're not mad at me. That's the way Mob 2 works.
Yeah, come on.
So just kidding.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Tommy, who has a strong presence? Okay, you could say this. I mean, who has a strong presence in our area? I'm in
Mohawk.
your area, Tom.
I've been out of the mix a little bit, and I don't want
Okay,
to.
can we hypothetically, who do you think maybe might have who has a strong presence?
I'll answer for him. Nutley is Genovese and Gambino heavy.
But back in the day, it was everybody was here.
Yeah. Oh no, not North Newark. I'm saying Nutley. Oh shit, sorry.
Same thing. It's the same thing. North Newark, Nutley, and Belleville is all the same thing, and they were all here.
Yeah.
Now I'm not sure. I really couldn't tell you now. I don't know. I mind my business. I don't get involved in anything, so I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So listen, we had a good run today. This was great. We had a little fun. We'll go round robin, kind of Brooklyn guy, JSV, maybe Mohawk, Tommy Six, and Joe. Let's just give our parting words on, just our show, give some feedback, and then we'll wrap it up.
Vinny.
Vinny, you're up first.
About the show? What happened here?
You give the final. Your final
Okay,
word.
the final. I think that the key point that I think Tom and I were trying to make with Tommy and everyone, Jason, the Mohawk, and Joe, is that there is no trying to rationalize what a guy that's a criminal who is not thinking rationally, who has a moral compass that is off. You can't try to think of what they're thinking, what's important to them, and how they navigate life, because they are not thinking like you. They're thinking like a criminal. And I think if this doesn't show you, with Tommy talking about it and everyone else on here, that go to work, because it don't work the other way. It might have, first of all, since the beginning of time, people have been going to jail, being in the mob, right? So if since the beginning of time they've been going, when the mob was okay back then, can you imagine now? So you're definitely not going to make it. It's not what it was. It was never great either. It's just that when you're young, everything looks flashy. Yep. So I think it was a great show. And I think talking about these topics hopefully gets through to someone who may have been looking to go out tonight with the intent of maybe being noticed by someone who hangs out in a bar or something.
JSV, you can speak on behalf of the Mohawk team.
Yeah. So, great show. I think, there are a lot of good points were brought up, and you can take, the take home point here is, if you can run an operation like a bookmaking operation, loan sharking operation, if you're, whatever, if you're in a drug game and you got 5 guys in the street, and you're, doing that, take that mentality, okay, and apply it to the legal world, and you could do so many things. Take that structure, that illegal structure that you have, and that hustle you have, put it into the legal world, and you forget it. Sky's the limit.
Yeah,
and you can make $100,000 a month and sleep at night.
And not just that, the Italian landscaper who didn't speak the language had disadvantages. He had to get an LLC. He had to do this. He had to do that. Right. But the mobster, if anything, had a license to steal. That's why I just throw that in. Had advantages, I think. So, Tommy?
Great show. Good show. Just with my stuff, current, I don't know. Details, you guys know that I don't give much out. I really can't. I never gave information. But as far as what you're saying about management skills and all of that stuff, yes, 100%. I'm not in my own business, but I do use it in my everyday work. From what I was able to manage with that business, I'm able to use it in my everyday work, and it's good to use it in that kind of way, and realize where I learned it from, because I don't have schooling, I didn't have direction, I don't have education, but what I learned on the street, I'm able to use in a legitimate workforce. If I had the opportunities to do more with it, unfortunately, I don't have the opportunities to do more with it. I'm sure that I could manage the hell out of anything that came my way, but unfortunately, I don't have those opportunities. But in my regular work,
we'll work with that. Let's talk privately. I have some things in the pipeline. So
great show.
So Joe, I'm happy to announce that Joe has become de-virginized. He had his first troll, everybody.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So first, how was that your first troll? And
well, the best part was, so like I'm all happy, like running around my house, you know. I show my wife what this prick said about me, right? You know what she says?
God.
You know what
he was
she
too
says?
easy on you. He's too easy on you.
No, she agreed with him. I said, really? Okay, thank you.
That's funny.
great.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you ever see that Latin term? With every troll comes truth.
Yeah.
I would never entertain any of it.
Stick around for a little bit, but this was a good one. Thanks everybody for checking out. For those, if you stuck around on the audio, I appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button on iTunes, and then officially announcing the road to 10,000 subs. The prizes are aforementioned here. If you subscribe, please hit notifications. If you are subscribed, can you please share with 1 to 3 people that you think would be interested and ask them to subscribe? I'm really looking to grow the channel, to build a strong community. And thank you guys for being on the show.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.